Chapter 1150. 1150 Heaven's Secrets Instruments Projection. Not good this. Could this be a Heaven's Secrets instrument? Xian Yanqing exclaimed in shock. Heaven's Secrets instrument? What is a Heaven's Secrets instrument? Lu Ming looked at the ball of light above his head and frowned. With such a huge ball of light on his head, how could he travel? At this moment, Xie Qitian's figure reappeared. He looked at the sky and sighed. As expected, the imperial family still used the Heaven's Secrets instrument. Senior, what is a Heaven's Secrets instrument? Lu Ming asked. You should know about the Secret Chamber of Commerce, right? Xie Qitian said. Yes. Lu Ming nodded and said, I heard that the Horizon Chamber of Commerce is controlled by the royal family, the Xie family. That's right. The Heaven's Secret Chamber of Commerce was founded by the royal Xie family. Their goal is to grasp the news from all over the world. They use the Heaven's Secret instrument to see through many things that others don't know. At the same time, the Heaven's Secret instrument has another function, which is to pursue and pursue. As long as you can grasp a person's aura and activate the Heaven's Secret instrument, you can condense a projection of the Heaven's Secret instrument above that person's head and find that person's location. Now, the imperial family has obviously activated the Heaven's Secrets instrument. The projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument will emit a kind of Heaven's Secrets force field. As long as an inscriber makes a disk array that can sense the Heaven's Secrets force field, they will be able to sense the approximate location of the Heaven's Secrets instrument projection and lock onto your position from there. I'm afraid that it won't be long before you are found, Xiao Wan said. It's actually so magical. Lu Ming frowned. He circulated the essential core in his body and threw a few punches in succession. A few rays of fist radiance shot up into the sky and pierced through the space. However, they were of no use to the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection and directly passed through it. It's useless. The Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection can't be destroyed. Unless the other party stops operating the Heaven's Secrets instrument, the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection will always be there. Xiao Wan said. I don't believe it. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he formed a seal with his hands. 2 light doors appeared in the sky. It was the sealing gate of the 9 seals of the Gate of God. The 2 doors of light landed on the 2 sides of the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection, emitting a resplendent light. Under the light of the sealing door, the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection actually dimmed and slowly shrank. This is the 9 seals of the Gate of God? Xiao Wan's eyes lit up. Bang, bang. In the sky, the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection, which was about to dim, suddenly shone brightly again. The 2 gates of sealing exploded. The 9 seals of the Gate of God are useless. Lu Ming frowned. I didn't expect you to have mastered the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. This is the ultimate technique of the sky-sealing divine warrior. With the 9 seals of the Divine Gate, you should be able to seal the Heaven's Secrets instrument projection for a while. However, your cultivation is too weak, so you can't seal the Heaven's Secrets instrument projection. How about this? You can teach me the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. When I understand it, I can definitely seal the Heaven's Secrets instrument projection for a while and buy us some time. Xiao Wan suggested. All right. Lu Ming agreed without thinking. It was just a secret technique, so what if he passed it on to Xie Luan? As long as it could solve their current predicament. Lu Ming then handed the jade talisman that recorded the 9 seals of the Gate of God to Xiao Wan. Xiao Wan's eyes lit up. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so decisive. This kid will definitely be a number 1 figure in the future. Xiao Wan thought. Alright, keep flying east. As long as you keep moving, it will increase the difficulty of the other party finding you. Xiao Wan said. Then he entered the fragment of the prison suppressing steel. Little Qing, you should enter the mountain and river diagram first. Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing. N? Xian Yanqing nodded. She also understood that it would be more convenient for Lu Ming to act alone. After a flash of light, Xian Yanqing entered the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming took a step forward and continued to fly toward the east. Using the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, Lu Ming was as fast as a stream of light. Moreover, he was flying in a remote direction. On this day, the entire central continent was in shock. The royal family, the Xie family, sent a message to all the major forces in the world. Not only were they the overlords, but they were also the forces that were a level lower than them. The royal family activated the Heaven's Secrets instrument and condensed the Heaven's Secrets projection on Lu Ming. They called on all major forces to kill Lu Ming. Whoever killed Lu Ming would be rewarded with a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure. Once the news was out, Central Continent was in an uproar. The royal family had actually activated the Heaven's Secrets instrument and its target was Lu Ming. If they remembered correctly, didn't Lu Ming enter the Abyss Demon realm after the million-year sacrifice? Many people who knew the inside story knew that the score that Xie Qitian had set for Lu Ming was to imprison him for life. It was impossible for him to achieve that score. However, the royal family had activated the Heaven's Secrets instrument to kill Lu Ming. How did Lu Ming escape? Most importantly, the royal family's reward was a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure. This shocked all the major forces regardless of whether they were overlords or lower-level forces. Then they became greedy. The royal family and the Xie family were actually willing to take out a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure. As its name suggested, it was a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure that could help martial artists transcend their tribulations. A martial artist's journey was filled with many tribulations. Not counting the other tribulations, just the heavenly tribulations alone were not few in number. There was a heavenly tribulation to break through to the martial king realm. There was a heavenly tribulation for breaking through to the spiritual god realm. When a spiritual god broke through to the emperor realm, there would also be a heavenly tribulation. There were many tribulations, and each tribulation was more terrifying than the previous one. How many people could survive all of them? As for tribulation-transcending heavenly treasures, they could help people transcend their tribulations. They could be used regardless of their cultivation level. It could be said that the success rate of using a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure to break through to the martial king realm was 100%. The success rate of breaking through to the spiritual god realm would increase by 50%. Breaking through to the emperor realm would also increase the success rate of transcending the tribulation by several times. How tempting was this? Which force, which expert would not be tempted? Moreover, tribulation-transcending heavenly treasures could be used repeatedly. If one person used it, another person could also use it. This was too important for a large force. How many experts could it increase? The most fatal temptation was to a supreme martial artist. The next step for supreme beings was to break through to the emperor realm. Tribulation-transcending heavenly treasures were fatally tempting to them. Immediately, the various overlord forces and the forces one level lower refined array discs that could sense the heaven's legacy force field to sense Lu Ming's location. Lu Ming kept flying. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. He had no idea how far he had flown. There was a projection of the Heaven's Secrets apparatus above his head, so he naturally couldn't take the teleportation array. He could only rely on himself to fly. Not good, Lu Ming. There's a powerful being approaching from the north. It's a perfected spiritual god. Suddenly Xiao Wan's voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. Great circle of the spiritual god stage. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. With his current cultivation, if he were to encounter a great circle spiritual god, death would be the only outcome. There was no possibility of him resisting at all. I'll take you away. Xiao Wan's figure appeared. He mustered his remaining strength and tore open the space. He brought Lu Ming into the space and disappeared. Just as Xiao Wan took Lu Ming away, a terrifying sword light flew over from the distance. It was a skinny old man holding a formation disc in his hand. His face was extremely gloomy. Damn it, I clearly sensed that he was here just now. How did he disappear in the blink of an eye? Chapter 1151. 1151 Chapter 1151 Killing enemies in succession. Somewhere far away the space cracked open and Xiao Wan stepped out of it with Lu Ming. At this moment the demonic chi on Xiao Wan's body was dim, and he looked somewhat dispirited. Lu Ming, I've already done my best and exhausted the last bit of my energy. I can't tear space to travel anymore. I'll be relying on you next. Xiao Wan said. Lu Ming nodded, frowning slightly. He was considering finding a place to hide. He would hide in the mountain and river diagram and wait until Xiao Wan had successfully cultivated the 9 seals of the Gate of God. He didn't believe that the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument could still appear after entering the mountain and river diagram. At this moment, Xiao Wan's eyes flickered. He looked in a direction and sneered, I didn't expect that even some 5th and 6th level spiritual god level trash would come to join in the fun. Lu Ming, you should have no problem dealing with 5th and 6th level spiritual god trash, right? Get me some tonics. With that, Xiao Wan entered Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Lu Ming stood in the air and waited quietly. Buzz. Whoosh. Not long after, a series of air-piercing sounds rang out in the air as sword lights tore through the void and flew over. In the blink of an eye, the 5 sword gleams disappeared and 5 figures stood around Lu Ming, surrounding him in the middle. Among the 5 figures there was an old man and a middle-aged man. However, they were all wearing the same white robe and carrying a long sword on their back. The Heavenly Martial Sword Faction. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold killing intent. Among the 5 people, 2 were at the 6th level of the spiritual god realm, and 3 were at the 5th level of the spiritual god realm. All of them were from the Heavenly Martial Sword Faction. Lu Ming knew that this territory was most likely the territory of the Heavenly Martial Sword Faction. Otherwise, how could he have encountered 5 people at once? They were all from the Heavenly Martial Sword Faction. Aha, we're the first to find it? What great luck! A middle-aged brawny man laughed loudly. His aura was violent, and the aura of a 6th-level spiritual god was revealed without a doubt. He looked at Lu Ming with a burning gaze. If he killed Lu Ming, he would have a heavenly tribulation transcending treasure. At the thought of this, his heart trembled with excitement. Although he's young, he can't be underestimated. I heard that he displayed terrifying combat strength in the Holy City, second only to Long Chen. An old man in the 5th level of the spiritual god realm said with a serious expression. What are you afraid of? No matter how strong he is, he's only at the 3rd level of the spiritual god realm. We have 2 6th-level spiritual gods and 3 5th-level spiritual gods here. Can he still overturn the heavens? The middle-aged man from before said, full of confidence. Are you done with your nonsense? Lu Ming's cold voice stunned the 5 people from the Sky Martial Sword Faction. They looked at Lu Ming in shock. Enough of your nonsense, I'll send you on your way. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ming's aura exploded, and 8 streams of dragon energy instantly erupted in his body. He took a step forward and rushed toward a 5th-level spiritual god realm expert, striking out with his palm. Selah. This palm was terrifyingly powerful. The space crumbled like tofu under the palm, and the terrifying aura completely enveloped the other party. The man's eyes widened and he looked extremely frightened. However, he did not even have the chance to scream before he was torn into pieces by Lu Ming's terrifying strength, his blood splattering across the sky. Damn it. You're looking for death, how dare you sneak attack? The other 4 were stunned for a moment, then they roared and unsheathed their swords. A vast sword power rose into the sky. Kill? Die. Lu Ming shouted. The 3rd bloodline appeared above his head and a wisp of energy surged into his body. Lu Ming's body was covered in a bloody light and his killing intent swept out like a tide. A drop of blood turned into a blood-red sword. Lu Ming held it in his hand and slashed. Whoosh. With a flash of blood-red light, it slashed toward the middle-aged man in the 6th level of the spiritual god realm. Enveloped by the endless killing intent, the middle-aged man shuddered and his eyes were filled with fear. He tried his best to slash out with his sword, but the sword radiance collapsed under Lu Ming's blood-red sword radiance. The blood-red sword radiance cut through the middle-aged man's glabella. Pucci. The middle-aged man was split in half, and even the spiritual god did not manage to escape. Seeing this scene, the remaining 3 people were scared out of their wits. How could Lu Ming be so terrifying? Even an expert at the 6th level of the spiritual god realm was killed by a single sword strike. This was a gap of 3 levels. Run, run, run. At that moment, they only had one thought in their minds, and that was to escape. The further he ran, the better. This was a god of death. The 3 of them turned into 3 sword lights and fled in 3 different directions. Kill? Lu Ming took a step forward and executed the 9 dragons heaven-treading steps, charging towards a 5th-level spiritual god realm expert. In an instant, he caught up to the person and slashed out with his sword. That person let out a desperate roar and fought back with all his might, but it was useless. The sword light descended and destroyed everything. Blood splattered and a head flew far away. At the same time, sword chi seeped out and killed the man's spiritual god. With this delay, the other 2 had already flown a long distance away. Don't even think about leaving, go. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the blood-red sword in his hand turned into a ray of blood-red light, rapidly charging toward a 5th-level spiritual god realm expert. As for Lu Ming himself, he executed the 9 dragons heaven-treading steps and chased after the remaining 6th-level spiritual god realm expert. Lu Ming's body was like a stream of light. In just a few breaths he had caught up with the other party. Lu Ming, if you kill us you're going to die too. The supreme martial artists of the Heaven Martial Sword faction are all here. You can't run. The man roared, his eyes filled with despair. He performed the blood meridian fusion and turned it into a combat sword. He wanted to fight to the death. Even if he died, he wanted to make Lu Ming pay a price. Unfortunately, his plan was destined to fail. Lu Ming activated the prison-suppressing heaven technique and struck out with his palm. Ever since the prison-guarding steel's bloodline had merged with the real one, the power of his prison-guarding heavenly skill had increased significantly. When he used the same amount of true energy and the same level of the prison-suppressing heavenly art, his power was much stronger than before. In addition to the 8 streams of dragon energy, Lu Ming's strength was truly terrifying. He was much stronger than when he fought against the various prodigies in the holy city. Now, if he were to face Dark Child again, Lu Ming was confident that he could defeat him in a few moves. Boom. The palm suppressed everything as if it had infinite power. It pressed through the sky and slashed at the combat sword that the person had transformed into. With a palm, the combat sword was shattered into pieces. It turned back into a human figure and coughed up blood. After the second palm strike, the man's body was torn into pieces. Whoosh! A blood-red sword gleam flew over and hovered above Lu Ming's head again, turning into a drop of blood. It was obvious that the 5th-level spiritual god realm martial artist had also been killed by the blood-red combat sword. The 5 experts of the heavenly sword faction had been completely annihilated. Demonic chi filled the air as Xiao Wan appeared. He looked at Lu Ming in surprise and asked, "Your battle prowess is not bad. I never thought that after 30,000 years, a chosen like you would be born. If we were in the same life you would definitely be my opponent." Lu Ming's combat strength surprised even Xiao Wan. Even someone as proud as him had said that Lu Ming could be his opponent if they were in the same lifetime. One must know that Xiao Wan had never said such words to anyone. Chapter 1152. 1152 Killing 7th Level Spiritual God Realm. Senior is too kind. Lu Ming said. No need to be humble. These people will be my tonics. They can help me recover some vitality. Xiao Wan laughed and transformed into a ball of demonic chi. He wrapped the blood and flesh of the Heaven Martial Sword Sect's expert that Lu Ming had killed and absorbed them all. It was unknown what kind of cultivation technique Xiao Wan was cultivating, but it was extremely overbearing. It could directly absorb a warrior's essence, chi, and spirit and transform them into his own essence. It was comparable to the devouring power of the 9 dragons. Of course, Xiao Wan's cultivation level was unfathomable, and he was considered an expert even among emperors. It was normal for him to have all sorts of tricks up his sleeve. Then Xiao Wan did the same thing and absorbed the remaining 4. The demonic chi on Xiao Wan's body wriggled, and his aura grew stronger. Those at the 5th and 6th level of the spiritual god realm are too weak. They can only recover a little, but it's better than nothing. Lu Ming, there are 7th level spiritual god realm martial artists rushing over from the east. They're pretty good tonics. Xiao Wan sneered. Although Xiao Wan's chi and blood were weak, and his combat strength was far worse than when he was at his peak, his spiritual sense was still very terrifying. It was the spiritual sense of a martial emperor, which could sense the situation over a long distance. Therefore he could sense the enemy in advance every time. 7th level of the spiritual god realm? Then kill. There was a sharp glint in Lu Ming's eyes. He guessed that the royal Xia family must have promised him a great reward. Otherwise, why would these non-members of the royal Xia family want to kill him so badly? However, if they wanted to kill him, they had to be prepared to be killed in return. Lu Ming took a step forward and headed east. At this moment, 2 burly men in their 50s or 60s were flying in Lu Ming's direction from the east. Both of them were dressed in white robes and carried combat swords on their backs. One look and one could tell that they were experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword School. One of them was holding an array board in his hand. On the array board, there was a light spot flashing not far from them. We're almost there. Lu Ming is over there. He's not dead yet. It seems like we found him first. The 2 of them smiled at each other, their eyes burning with passion. Why is he approaching us? Suddenly one of them spoke. They discovered that the dot of light on the formation plate was rapidly approaching them. This kid is really courting death. He must not know we are here, so he chose a random direction and came to our side. It seems that even the heavens are helping us. Another man laughed. They naturally didn't know of Xiaowan's existence. The matter of Xiaowan was too important. The royal Xia family had not leaked it. In fact, only a few people in the royal Xia family knew about it. The royal Xia family had only mentioned Lu Ming to the public. The two of them spoke as they flew. Not long after, a black-robed young man stepped through the air. The three of them looked at each other. However, to the surprise of the two powerhouses from the Sky Martial Sword faction, Lu Ming's eyes did not seem to be surprised at all when he saw them. Instead, there was a hint of killing intent in his eyes. This gave the two of them a bad feeling. He shook his head and threw the bad premonition out of his mind. He was only a junior at the 3rd level of the spiritual god realm. No matter how strong and heaven-defying he was, how could he cross 4 levels and fight with them, who were at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm? They had lived for thousands of years, yet they had never heard of a Heaven's Pride expert who could cross 4 levels in the spiritual god realm and fight a 7th level spiritual god while being at the 3rd level. How could anyone who could reach the 7th level of the spiritual god realm be weak? They were all extremely powerful existences. When they were young, they were all geniuses of a region. They felt that they were overthinking things. Let's attack together and kill this brat. We'll split the rewards equally according to their value. One of them said. Although they felt that Lu Ming could not possibly be their match, they still decided to attack together and end the battle as soon as possible to avoid any complications. All right. The other man nodded. Buzz, buzz, whoosh. The battle sword buzzed, and the sword chi broke through the air, stirring up the wind and clouds. The two of them took a step forward at the same time and charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I'll leave one to you and the other to me. Xiaowan appeared and transformed into a stream of demonic chi, sweeping toward one of them. Kill? Without saying anything else, Lu Ming charged at one of them. His palm was like a heavenly blade as he used the prison-suppressing heaven technique to suppress the enemy. Clang. The palm and his opponent's sword clashed heavily, creating a terrifying boom. At the point where the palm and the sword met, a ripple spread out at a terrifying speed. Hundreds of miles away, a mountain peak that reached into the clouds was swept by the ripples and was directly cut in half. Gravel broke through the air and smoke filled the air. Bang, bang, bang. After the exchange of blows, a figure retreated 3 steps. It was the expert from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. He retreated, but Lu Ming's body only swayed a little. How is that possible? The expert from the Heavenly Martial Sword School widened his eyes in disbelief. Facing the attack head-on, he was actually forced back by Lu Ming's palm. How was this possible? He clearly discovered that Lu Ming's cultivation was indeed at the 3rd level of the spiritual god realm. A 3rd level spiritual god actually forced him, a 7th level spiritual god, to take 3 steps back. This was too terrifying. This kid is too monstrous. Kill him, we must kill him. The Sky Martial Sword School's expert roared in his heart as he circulated his Zhen Yuan to the extreme. At the same time, he performed bloodline fusion, turning it into a combat sword and exploding with his strongest combat power. This person had a divine level rank 5 bloodline. Roar. A dragon's roar resounded and the 9-dragon bloodline emerged. Lu Ming also burst out the 9-dragon bloodline and performed the bloodline fusion to transform into 9 dragons. The 9 dragons roared as they stepped into the air and pounced toward the other party. Bang, bang. The dragon claws tore through the sky and collided with the combat sword continuously, but the combat sword was completely at a disadvantage and could not fight against the 9 dragons. When Lu Ming first entered the Abyss Demon territory, he had to borrow the 3rd bloodline's power in excess to kill the 7th level spiritual god realm expert from the Xia family. But now, Lu Ming did not need to borrow the 3rd bloodline's power excessively to suppress the other party. After more than 10 moves, the combat sword was completely suppressed. It was constantly bombarded by the 9 dragons and kept shaking. Every single move of the 9 dragons contained the prison-suppressing heavenly art, and its power was simply too great. Every move was like a divine monument pressing down. Ah! Suddenly, a blood-curdling screech came from nearby. It was from another expert of the Heavenly Martial Sword School. He had been killed by Xiaowan, and was now wrapped in a mass of demonic chi. This made the powerhouse who was fighting with Lu Ming tremble in his heart. Fear filled his heart. His heart was in a mess and his strength became weaker. Lu Ming seized the opportunity to hit the sword with a few consecutive moves. With a bang, the sword exploded, revealing the man's true body. His face was pale and he spat out blood. He retreated quickly, trying to escape. The 9 dragons stomped on the air at a terrifying speed, chasing after the other party and launching a series of attacks. After a few moves, the man let out a blood-curdling screech as his chest was pierced by the 9 dragons' claws. He was killed on the spot. Chapter 1153. 1153 Sealing the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument. Now, Lu Ming could kill a 7th-level spiritual god realm expert by himself. Of course, the 7 levels of the spiritual god realm were also divided into strong and weak. This person was considered average among the 7 levels of the spiritual god realm. If he had awakened a 6th-level divine level or even a 7th-level divine level bloodline, or if his low-grade divine level martial technique was a bit stronger, he would not be so easy to kill. As soon as the man was killed by Lu Ming, the demonic qi that Xiao Wan had turned into flew over and wrapped him up. In just a few breaths, not even a residue was left of him. Lu Ming secretly felt that it was a pity. If he had devoured a few 7th-level spiritual god realm martial artists, his cultivation would also be able to improve quickly. However, the most important thing now was for Xia Luan to recover his strength. If he fully recovered, no, he didn't need to fully recover. As long as he recovered to the realm of an ordinary emperor, their safety would be guaranteed. Lu Ming, another expert, is here. This time, it's a perfected spiritual god expert. We can't deal with him. Let's find a place to hide first. I'll come out after I've cultivated the 9 seals of the divine gate. Xiao Wan said after sensing for a moment. All right. Lu Ming nodded. He turned to the south and used the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. He turned into a stream of light and disappeared. Not long after Lu Ming left, an extremely powerful presence appeared at the place where the battle had taken place. The person sensed it carefully and frowned as he muttered, "Junior brother Wan and the others' auras are here. However, judging from the remnant auras, they should have died." Lu Ming actually has such powerful means to kill a 7th-level spiritual god realm existence? The man mumbled to himself before looking to the south. A fiery light flashed in his eyes as he chased after them. Lu Ming flew more than 100,000 miles and saw a huge lake. He rushed down with a long spear in his hand. The long spear spun and pierced through the soil and rocks at the bottom of the lake, rushing underground. At the same time, under the influence of Lu Ming's will of the earth, Lu Ming's speed of penetrating the underground rocks was very fast. In just a short while he was 100 miles below the ground. At the same time, the rocks that he had passed through behind him regrouped as if no one had passed through them. This Heaven's Secrets instrument projection is really amazing. It can still be condensed even in the depths of the earth. Lu Ming frowned and looked at the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument above his head. He continued to rush underground. After a few breaths, he traveled another 100 miles. With a thought, Lu Ming appeared in the mountain and river diagram. As soon as he entered the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming looked up and finally heaved a long sigh of relief. The projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument above his head was finally cut off and did not appear again. The mountain and river diagram was indeed a legendary treasure. It seemed to be of a higher level than the Heaven's Secrets instrument of the royal Xia family, as it had successfully blocked the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument. Deep underground, only the mountain and river diagram was among the rocks. About 10 breaths after Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram, the being with the great circle of the spirit embryo realm also arrived above the lake. However, at this moment, the array disc in the person's hand dimmed and he had completely lost contact with Lu Ming. What's going on? Why did the formation plate lose its connection to the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection? That shouldn't be the case. The Heaven's Secrets device is the most mysterious treasure of the royal Xia family. Even if it's hidden deep underground, it should still be able to sense it. Could it be that the royal Xia family suddenly stopped operating the Heaven's Secrets device? This person frowned and various thoughts appeared in his mind as he began to search the surroundings. In the mountain and river diagram, Xian Yinqing sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree, cultivating quietly. Lu Ming came to Xian Yinqing's side. The path understanding ancient tree. You even have the path understanding ancient tree? Xiao Wan's figure appeared. He was shocked to see the 3-leafed path understanding ancient tree. The mountain and river diagram and the ancient tree of comprehension were both legendary treasures. The fact that Lu Ming had both of them shocked the chaotic heavenly demon emperor. Although Xiao Wan had been extremely powerful and famous, he had not possessed such a treasure. I obtained them in the Battle of Providence. Lu Ming randomly came up with a reason. What he said was half true and half false. The mountain and river diagram had indeed been obtained in the Battle of Providence, but the path-understanding ancient tree had not. It had spurted out from the Heaven's Gate. You're really lucky, kid. Many people have participated in the Battle of Providence, including me, but I've never heard of anyone obtaining such a treasure. Xiao Wan said, his eyes still filled with surprise. Lu Ming smiled and did not explain further. All right, I'll start to comprehend the 9 seals of the Divine Gate now. With the help of your path-understanding ancient tree, I'll definitely be able to cultivate faster. After Xiao Wan finished speaking, he also sat cross-legged under the path-understanding tree. Lu Ming also sat cross-legged at the side, quietly comprehending the concept. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. At this moment, Xiao Wan ended his cultivation. Lu Ming sensed it too. He ended his cultivation and said, Senior, have you finished cultivating? Xiao Wan nodded and said, I've succeeded in the initial stage, but it'll take some time for me to master it. The 9 seals of the Gate of God is indeed mysterious. Let's go out now. I'll help you try it out. Lu Ming nodded. With a thought, he exited the mountain and river diagram. As soon as he got out of the mountain and river diagram, the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument condensed again above his head. 9 seals of the Gate of God, seal. Xiao Wan's hands kept forming seals. In the next moment, sealing gates appeared around Lu Ming. There were a total of 4 sealing gates and they spread out in 4 directions. They appeared around the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection, and they gave off a resplendent light that enveloped the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection. Seal. Seal. Xiao Wan shouted again and the power of the seal burst forth. The 4 doors of light pressed down, and finally gathered together to form a single door of light. The projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument also disappeared. Hidden? Xiao Wan shouted again, and the remaining door of light trembled and disappeared. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. Xiao Wan was indeed Xiao Wan. He was a top-notch expert among martial emperors. His comprehension was too strong. Back then, Lu Ming spent 3 days before he managed to cultivate it successfully and form a sealing door. Xiao Wan, on the other hand, had only spent 3 days to condense 4 sealing gates, and he had used them more skillfully than Lu Ming. The higher one's realm was, the deeper one's understanding of martial Tao would be, and the faster one could cultivate secret skills and martial techniques. Lu Ming, with my current cultivation level, I can only help you seal the door for 3 hours. After 3 hours, the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection will break through the seal. At that time we will need to reseal it. Xiao Wan said. 3 hours is enough. Lu Ming smiled. His appearance began to change. Even his aura changed. He then rushed to the ground. Within a certain range of Lu Ming, many experts were looking for him. As there was news that Lu Ming had appeared here, it naturally attracted many experts. Not only were there experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword School, but there were also experts from the royal family, the Xia family, and even experts from other forces such as Cold Blood Hall and Sky Eagle Castle who had come from hundreds of millions of miles away. In the past 3 days, many experts had ransacked the place but they did not find any traces of Lu Ming. Chapter 1154. 1154 Hunting. What's going on? The Heaven's Secrets instrument was still operating but it could not sense Lu Ming's projection? What kind of treasure does this guy have that can isolate the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument? Generally, treasures with internal spaces can't isolate the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument. Could it be that Lu Ming has a treasure of a higher grade than the Heaven's Secrets instrument? Some people guessed, and the flames of greed in their eyes burned even more. If they killed Lu Ming, not only would they be rewarded with a priceless tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure from the royal family, but they would also be able to obtain the treasures on Lu Ming. This made everyone's hearts burn with a fiery flame. There's a reaction, the array board is reacting. Suddenly, someone shouted. There's really a reaction. The projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument has reappeared. Lu Ming has appeared. He's still in this area. Tens of thousands of miles to the south. Let's go. One figure after another felt the reaction of the array board in their hands and rushed to the south. However, after a few breaths, these people stopped again. What's going on? The formation plate's reaction has disappeared again. What the hell? You should die. At this moment, these people's disk arrays had lost their connection to the projection of the Heaven Secrets instrument. I don't care. He's in the south. Many experts flew in the direction that they had sensed earlier. Very soon, many people appeared near the lake where Lu Ming had transmitted into the underground and began to search. There are so many people here. The Royal Xia family, Heavenly Martial Sword School, Cold Blood Hall, Ji family. In the crowd, a dark-skinned burly man looked around with a cold light in his eyes. This person was Lu Ming. Previously, he had changed his appearance and rushed out of the ground. Not long after, he discovered a large number of experts approaching. He took the opportunity to mix in with these experts and inquire some information. Lu Ming had changed his aura using the illusionary breath technique. These people could not recognize him at all. Lu Ming had successfully obtained a lot of important information. The Royal Xia family is really willing to take out a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure. However, it's understandable. The chaotic Sky Emperor has reappeared. The Royal Xia family is probably already panicking. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Senior, since there are so many tonics here, why don't we find an opportunity to get rid of some? Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Xiao Wan. Ah, that's just what I want. Let's leave this place first and look for those who are alone. Xiao Wan laughed heartily, his voice ringing in Lu Ming's ears. The experts here searched the surroundings. After not finding Lu Ming, they scattered. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the crowd and followed behind the few powerhouses from the Heavenly Sword sect. Of the 3 experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction, 2 were at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm, and 1 was at the 6th level. After flying for a distance, the 3 of them stopped and turned to look at Lu Ming. This brother, what are you trying to do by following the 3 of us? One of the 7th level spiritual god realm experts asked, his gaze somewhat cold. They had long sensed that Lu Ming was following them. However, the aura that Lu Ming revealed was only at the 3rd level of the spiritual god realm. They did not care at all. However, after being followed for such a long distance, they also revealed killing intent in their hearts. Haven't you been looking for me? Lu Ming smiled faintly and his voice became younger. The 3 of them were stunned for a moment, then their eyes lit up. You are Lu Ming. One of them coldly shouted. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 3 sword hums resounded and 3 sword lights shot into the sky. Kill? Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on them. He charged forward. At the same time, Xiao Wan also appeared and pounced at his opponent. After Xiao Wan absorbed 2 experts in the 7th level of the spiritual god realm, his strength had recovered a little. It was even easier for him to deal with martial artists in the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. 4 sealing gates appeared, instantly freezing the 3 experts of the Heavenly Martial Sword School. Lu Ming killed one of them with a single palm strike. The other 2 were killed by Xiao Wan before they were enveloped by the rolling demonic qi. 3 storage rings flew out toward Lu Ming, who grabbed them and kept them. After a few breaths, the 3 experts from the Heavenly Sword faction had disappeared. The demonic qi on Xiao Wan's body grew even more powerful and churned. The muscles all over Xiao Luan's body squirmed and were filled with demonic radiance. He was like a supreme demonic god, exuding a terrifying aura. So comfortable. My immortal demonic body has recovered a little, but it's still far from it. Let's continue. A demonic light flickered in Xiao Wan's eyes, as if an unparalleled demonic god was about to awaken. All right. Lu Ming nodded without any hesitation. Now he was in the same boat as Xiao Wan. The stronger Xiao Wan was, the more advantageous it would be for him. Then Lu Ming left the place and set his eyes on 2 Cold Blood Hall experts. The 2 7th level spiritual god realm experts were easily killed by Lu Ming. The hunt continued. No one would notice Lu Ming's disguise. Lu Ming specifically chose those who were alone or in groups of 2 or 3 to attack, but they were all easily killed by Xiao Wan and became his nourishment. Many experts had come to this region. They came from various overlord forces and even some of the forces that were 1 level lower. Of course, not all the forces had come. For example, the heaven-suppressing divine army, the biggest enemy of the royal family and the Xia family, had no one come. Also, Xingkong Mountain and Tianxia Academy didn't send anyone. Apart from a few overlord forces that had not sent anyone, Lu Ming discovered people from 10 overlord forces. Lu Ming did not show any mercy. He led Xiao Wan and hunted them down one by one. Slowly, Xiao Wan's strength grew stronger and stronger. From being able to kill a 7th-level spiritual god in the beginning, he was able to easily kill an 8th-level spiritual god later on, and then to a 9th-level spiritual god. 3 hours later, the effect of the sealing door was over. Lu Ming found a secret place and asked Xiao Wan to help him seal it again. Hoo-hoo! Demonic chi churned. After Xiao Wan absorbed a 9th-level spiritual god realm expert, the demonic chi in his body reached a terrifying level, especially his demonic body. It was like a demonic weapon, revealing a terrifying aura. Immortal demon body. The sovereign realm was completely different from the spiritual god realm. An emperor's intent would transform into a domain, and their bloodline would condense into a spiritual body. Both of these were terrifyingly powerful. A spirit body had already transcended the mortal body and had the power to destroy the world. An emperor could easily kill anyone below the emperor level with just his spirit body, even without his territory. Xiao Wan's immortal demon body was a kind of spirit body, a kind of overbearing and extremely powerful spirit body. Because Xiao Wan had been suppressed by the fragment of the prison suppressing steel for 30,000 years, his spirit body had almost collapsed, and he was now slowly condensing it back. Lu Ming, how about we do something big? Xiao Wan's eyes were filled with demonic chi. A big one? How do we do it? Lu Ming was very tempted. Although Xiao Wan had killed many powerhouses and turned their flesh, vital essence and blood essence into Xiao Wan's tonics, Lu Ming did not get a single piece of them. However, Xiao Wan did not take the storage rings and gave them all to Lu Ming. Lu Ming was rich now, so he was naturally tempted. Using a formation to kill a group of people. Xiao Wan slowly explained his plan. Chapter 1155. 1155 Chapter 1155 Guiding Xiao Wan. Not only was Xiao Wan's martial arts cultivation extremely strong, he was also unrivaled among the divine wilderness continent's emperors. His Tao of inscription was not weak either. It had reached the peak of the 8th rank, which was also the great circle of the spiritual god realm. He needed to find a place to set up a peerless formation and kill a group of experts. This was especially true for Great Circle Spirit God stage experts. Lu Ming was in full support of the idea. The two of them chose a hidden Great Canyon. This Great Canyon had a wide and magnificent view. When Lu Ming arrived, Xiao Wan began to inscribe the array. In the beginning, an illusory formation was inscribed to conceal their figures and other formations. After the illusory formation, it was the killing formation. Xiao Wan's hands kept moving, and one inscription after another sank into the ground around the valley. No, your formation is not powerful enough. It won't be that easy to kill a Great Circle spiritual god expert. On his shoulder, Dandan stood on her 2 legs and watched Xiao Wan carve the formation, looking like she was in charge of everything. Xiao Wan was a little curious. He looked at Dandan, pondered for a moment and said, "This array of mine should be able to kill 3 Great Circle spiritual gods without any problems." Bullshit. Dandan put her hands on her hips and scolded him directly. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This guy was berating Xiao Wan like this. He was probably looking for a beating. Xiao Wan raised an eyebrow, and a powerful aura began to emanate from him. But a moment later he retracted his aura. Dandan was also shocked at first. She grabbed Lu Ming with her claws and waited for Xiao Wan's aura to subside before she secretly heaved a long sigh of relief. Let me tell you, although your formation can kill up to 3 people in the great circle of the spiritual god realm, it will definitely take some time. If it doesn't succeed in a short time and attracts the attention of supreme-level experts, we can only run away. Dandan continued to put on a smug look. Xiao Wan's brows twitched. Dandan was right. His formation could indeed kill 3 great circle spirit god experts, but it would take some time. Kid, you're still too young to play with formations in front of me. Let me teach you. She arrogantly rushed out and began to wave her hands above Xiao Wan's formation. Runes began to appear, but they didn't merge with Xiao Wan's runes, only marked them. You can inscribe the inscriptions according to what I've inscribed. This way the power of your array will double. Dandan continued to inscribe as she muttered. Xiao Wan looked carefully and was surprised when he saw the back. He found that the inscriptions that Dandan pointed out and engraved were very wonderful. If they were supplemented into his array, it could indeed increase the power of his array by a large margin. It was more than enough to double the power. Lu Ming, this little turtle of yours is extraordinary. It has an unusual background. Xiao Wan looked at Lu Ming, the surprise in his eyes deepening. After a short period of interaction, he realized that he could not see through Lu Ming anymore. He had a big secret. Although his current cultivation was still weak, he had a bright future and it was difficult to predict. What little turtle? Little brat, I'm one of the top 10 war beasts. Dandan's ears were very sharp and she heard it from afar. She became even more proud and spoke to Xiao Yan in a tone as if she was lecturing a junior. What? Top 10 battle beasts? You're one of the top 10 battle beasts? Xiao Wan's eyes suddenly widened, a look of shock on his face. Senior, don't listen to his nonsense. This guy just likes to brag. Lu Ming said hurriedly. He then pretended to be nonchalant and asked, Senior, you know about the top 10 war beasts? What are the top 10 war beasts? I'm not too sure either. It's just that when I left the Divine Wilderness continent and headed overseas, I heard of it once. It said that the top 10 battle beasts are the 10 most powerful living creatures in this world. Each one of them has the power to destroy the world. Emperors are like ants in front of them, and they can even easily kill saints. It's extremely terrifying. There are even legends that some of the top 10 battle beasts don't come from our world, but from another world. It's said that the original body of your 9-dragon bloodline is one of the top 10 battle beasts, the 9 dragons. It can easily kill a saint. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Also, some of them came from another realm. Lu Ming thought of heaven. As Dandan came from the heaven gate, Lu Ming speculated that the other side of the heaven gate was the heaven realm. Alright, I've added the necessary inscriptions. Kid, inscribe it according to the trajectory I've carved. The power of the formation will definitely increase by a large margin. Dandan flew back and landed on Lu Ming again. Xiao Wan sized up Dandan seriously but didn't say anything. He flew out and began to inscribe inscriptions according to the trajectory Dandan had carved. Dandan, in the future, don't mention that you are one of the top 10 war beasts in front of others. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Dandan to remind her. In the Divine Wilderness continent, it seemed that people did not know much about the top 10 war beasts. Even Xiao Wan, the sovereign of the chaotic heavens, had only heard of them from overseas. This was still fine, as no one would pay much attention to him if he were to clamor all day long. If Lu Ming's cultivation level became stronger in the future and he broke through to the martial emperor realm, he would be targeted by others if he went overseas and made such a big fuss. According to Xiao Wan, the top 10 battle beasts were existences that could easily obliterate saints. That in itself was a supreme treasure, and if others knew about it, how could they not be tempted and covet it? Alright, I'll stop talking. Dandan was very smart and had obviously thought of this as she muttered. Xiao Wan spent an entire day inscribing the formation. During this time he would point out any shortcomings and Xiao Wan would do as he was told. A day later the formation was completed. After that, it was time to attract people over. However, first they had to check if there were any Supreme Being level figures. If they attracted a Supreme Being level figure, not to mention killing others, even they would be in danger. Lu Ming changed his appearance and strolled around the area, checking and asking around to see if there were any Supreme Being level figures. After confirming that there were no Supreme Beings around, Lu Ming returned to the place where he had set up the array and waited quietly. Soon the energy of the sealing gate was exhausted, and the Heaven's Secrets Instruments projection reappeared. At that moment, everyone with a formation disk in a radius of 1,000,000 miles reacted at the same time. Light spots reappeared on the formation plate. It's Lu Ming. Lu Ming has appeared. Damn it, he has been appearing and disappearing from time to time during this period of time. Now he's using this move again. He's playing with us. If I catch him, I'll skin him alive. Those powerhouses couldn't hold back their anger and started to curse. However, he still obediently charged in the direction indicated by the formation plate. Hey, this time Lu Ming did not disappear. The array disk has been showing him. If that's the case, it would have disappeared a while ago, but it hasn't disappeared yet. I guess Lu Ming has used some method to hide the aura of the Heaven's Secrets Instruments projection. Now he can't hide it anymore. Many people's eyes lit up as they rushed in the direction shown on the array disk. Chapter 1156. 1156 4th Level Spiritual God Realm. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the sky above the Grand Canyon. Above his head, the Heaven's Secrets Instruments projection was rotating slowly, emitting a wonderful fluctuation. Xiao Wan was floating beside Lu Ming. It's almost time. Seal. Wan suddenly shouted. He kept forming seals with both hands and 4 sealing doors appeared, sealing the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument. Then he charged into the Grand Canyon and dug a big hole with his spear. Lu Ming rushed dozens of miles underground and spread his spiritual senses. Buzz, buzz, buzz. One figure after another appeared, floating around the Great Canyon, exuding a powerful aura. The weakest of them was at the 6th level of the spiritual god realm, while the strongest had an earth-shattering aura. They were extremely terrifying and were shockingly experts at the great circle of the spiritual god realm. They were all dressed differently. Some wore white swordsman robes, most of whom were experts from the heavenly martial sword school, while others wore blood-red robes, experts from Cold Blood Hall. Lu Ming used his spiritual senses to scan and found that the heavenly sword faction, Cold Blood Hall, and the royal Xia family had the most experts. What's going on? Why did the Heaven's Secrets apparatus's projection disappear again? Is this Heaven's Secrets apparatus's projection of any use? Damn it, the disc array clearly showed that it was nearby. Why did it suddenly disappear? Lu Ming must be nearby and hiding somewhere. Let's surround this area and see how long he can hide. One by one the experts shouted out. Their figures flashed and they surrounded the area. With so many experts here, how much wealth would there be in their interspatial rings? Lu Ming's eyes shone with a fiery glow. Wan also spread out his spiritual sense to sense the surroundings. 4 great circle spiritual gods, 9 ninth-level spiritual gods and no supremes. That's enough, that's enough. With these tonics, I'm confident that I can fight against supremes. Wan murmured, his eyes cold. Lu Ming, I'm going to release a trace of the seal now. Wan said. Lu Ming nodded. Then Wan performed a hand seal and unlocked the door of seal a little. Buzz. Immediately, some fluctuations of the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection were emitted. At this moment, the array discs in the hands of the experts near the Great Canyon moved. They reacted and all pointed in one direction, the Great Canyon. He's appeared. Lu Ming has appeared. He's in that huge canyon. He should be hiding in the underground of the Great Canyon, using a secret technique to conceal the fluctuations of the Heaven's Secrets instrument's projection. Now he finally can't hide anymore and is about to be revealed. Kill him. Lu Ming is mine. It's mine. Charge. The experts roared and burst out with powerful auras. Their eyes were red as they charged towards the canyon. If he killed Lu Ming, he would be able to obtain a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure. The temptation was too great. At least dozens of experts at the 6th level spiritual god realm and above rushed into the large canyon. At the same time, attacks burst out and blasted toward the ground, trying to force Lu Ming out of the ground. All of you die. Underground, Wan's eyes were cold. With a wave of his hands, countless inscriptions glowed in the valley, and a peerless killing formation appeared, filled with murderous intent. Streaks of terrifying sword chi appeared and destroyed the attacks of these experts. The terrifying aura of the formation made everyone's heart turn cold and their souls tremble. Not good, it's a peerless killing formation. We've been tricked. Retreat, retreat, retreat. These experts went crazy as they frantically tried to escape. However, it was too late. Whoosh, whoosh. The terrifying sword chi was killing at a speed that was faster than the naked eye could see. Screams rang out. Those experts below the 9th level of the spiritual god realm were killed in an instant, and their blood and chi soared into the sky. Even the 9 experts in the 9th level of the spiritual god realm could not resist for a few breaths before they were killed one by one. In the end, there were only 4 great circle spiritual god stage experts left. Let's work together. Let's work together and charge out. We've been tricked. Lu Ming has the help of an expert. We've been deceived. We've been deceived by the imperial family. With furious roars, the 4 great circle spiritual god stage experts wanted to join forces and charge out. However, this great formation had been greatly improved and its power was too great. The 4 great circle spiritual god stage experts tried their best to break through, but to their despair they found that they were unable to break out. The 4 of them didn't last long before their defenses were broken by the sharp sword chi. 10,000 swords pierced through their hearts and they died on the spot. Dozens of experts at the 6th level spiritual god realm and above were completely annihilated. It was especially so for those powers that had fallen in the great circle of the spiritual god stage. It would definitely be a huge loss. The great circle of the spiritual god realm was second only to the Supremes. There would not be many great circle spiritual gods in any faction. The death of one would be a great loss. Bang! Lu Ming dashed toward the ground and reached the ground in an instant. As soon as he reached the ground, Xiao Wan transformed into a ball of demonic qi and enveloped the expert's corpse. "Senior, please leave a few for me," Lu Ming shouted. He was envious to see so many spiritual god powerhouses, especially the few who had cultivated the earth concept. Lu Ming dashed toward the few experts who had cultivated the earth concept. Xiao Wan had intentionally allowed Lu Ming to benefit from this. He did not touch the few people that Lu Ming had his eyes on, while the rest were shrouded in demonic qi and became Xiao Wan's nourishment. Lu Ming controlled the 9-dragon bloodline and rushed to the front of an 8th-level spiritual god realm expert. He opened his mouth and inhaled, and devouring power burst forth, devouring the expert's vital essence, blood essence and runes. Immediately after, Lu Ming rushed to another one and continued to devour. Lu Ming had devoured 3 experts in the 8th level of the spiritual god realm, all of whom were experts who cultivated the earth concept. After devouring the 3 masters, the 9-dragon bloodlines swelled up and were filled with boundless and terrifying energy. Xiao Wan did not collect the experts' storage rings. They all flew toward Lu Ming and were put away. Lu Ming's heart was burning. There were so many powerful people. How much wealth would they have? "Lu Ming, let's go. We have to leave this place first." Demonic qi surged around Xiao Wan as he wrapped Lu Ming in it and flew into the distance. The commotion here would soon be known by others, and they would definitely attract powerful experts. Xiao Wan carried Lu Ming and traveled 1,000 miles in an instant. Before long they had traveled millions of miles. Lu Ming rushed into the belly of a huge mountain and entered the mountain and river diagram. He sat cross-legged and began to refine the energy that he had just devoured. The energy of 3 8th-level spiritual gods was too vast and boundless. It was constantly transformed into true essence and Lu Ming's cultivation began to improve rapidly. Middle stage 3rd level spiritual god realm, late stage 3rd level spiritual god realm. The intent runes were also being refined continuously. Before long, Lu Ming's earth intent had successfully broken through the bottleneck and entered the lower tier of level 4. It was still slowly improving. Moreover, some of them had comprehended the concept of fire. This allowed Lu Ming's concept of fire to improve. As for the blood essence of the 3 experts, Lu Ming used all of them to upgrade the prison-suppressing steel bloodline. Not long after, the 8th golden chakra emerged on the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline. It was a little dim at first, but it gradually became bright. After a few hours, Lu Ming finally finished refining the energy and blood essence of the 3 8th-level spiritual god realm experts. Lu Ming's body rippled with a powerful aura. It was several times stronger than before. 4th level of the spiritual god realm. Chapter 1157. 1157 Chapter 1157 Killing the Heavenly Sword Faction. With the breakthrough of the Earth concept, Lu Ming's 5 types of concepts had already reached the lower tier of the 4th level. Therefore, with the huge amount of energy that he had devoured, he broke through in one go and entered the 4th level spiritual god realm. Lu Ming's abilities had increased by a huge margin. Lu Ming put away the 9 dragons bloodline and opened his eyes. He saw Xiao Wan standing not far away looking at him in surprise. The bloodline of the 9 dragons is indeed magical and heaven-defying. Xiao Wan sighed. The reason why he could constantly improve his strength with the help of strong cultivators' tonics was that he had already reached his original strength and realm. However, he was still weak after being suppressed for many years and needed the blood essence of strong cultivators to recover. He had only recovered, but Lu Ming had improved and broken through. There was no comparison at all. "Senior, how much strength have you recovered?" Lu Ming changed the topic and asked. "With my current strength, I should have no problem fighting a supreme martial artist," Xiao Wan said. "He can fight an autarch." Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. The stronger Xiao Wan was, the better it would be for him. "Senior, do you still want to do something big?" Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was a little tempted. Didn't the experts from the Overlord forces want to kill him? In that case he would retaliate. Most importantly, Xiao Wan did not seem to be interested in these people's storage rings, but Lu Ming needed them. Although Lu Ming had yet to take stock of the items in the storage rings, they were all experts at the 6th level spiritual god realm and above. The value of the items in them was definitely shocking. Lu Ming's heart was burning with excitement. Ah, your thoughts are the same as mine. I also want to do something big. Xiao Wan laughed arrogantly. Senior, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to kill the enemy with a formation like the previous one. The others will definitely be on guard after seeing the traces left behind by the previous battle. It'll be very difficult to do it again. Lu Ming frowned, thinking about how to make a big move. It's fine. Let's change our method. Isn't there a branch of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction nearby? I can sense that there's something I need in this division. Xiao Wan said, a hint of hope in his eyes. Attack the Heavenly Sword faction's division? Senior, I'm afraid that there are supreme martial artists in this division. Lu Ming's expression was grave. Although Xiao Wan had the ability to fight against the supreme being of the Heavenly Sword sect was in charge of the distribution and controlled the geographical advantage. It was not easy to kill him. If he was not careful, he might end up getting himself killed. If I were a bit stronger, I would be confident. There's something very important to me in that division. If I can get it, I'll be able to recover my strength quickly. Then I won't have to hide anymore. Xiao Wan said, frowning. Lu Ming pondered for a moment. Suddenly, his palm glowed and a small pagoda appeared in his palm. An Emperor's spiritual weapon. Xiao Wan's eyes glowed when he saw the pagoda. Senior, if I were to lend you this Emperor's spiritual weapon for the time being, would you be confident? Lu Ming said. Yes, I do. Although this Emperor's spiritual weapon doesn't match my attributes and I can't fully unleash its power, it's still an Emperor's spiritual weapon. It's enough to increase my strength by a large margin and attack that division. Xiao Wan said. All right, I'll lend it to Senior. Lu Ming waved his hand and the small tower flew towards Xiao Wan. If he didn't make a prompt decision, it would lead to chaos. Now that Xie Luan had temporarily attached himself to him, he would definitely not be able to hide many of his secrets from Xie Luan. It would be better to take them out openly and use Xie Luan's strength to gain some benefits for himself. Ha, good, then let's turn the world upside down. Xiao Wan laughed heartily. After refining the small pagoda for a while, he and Lu Ming left the mountain and river diagram and flew north. Hundreds of thousands of miles to the north, in a wild mountain, there was a branch of the Heavenly Martial Sword sect. This was what Xiao Wan had sensed when Lu Ming and the rest had passed by. Soon, a sword peak that reached the sky appeared in front of him. The mountain peak was like a sword that seemed to be able to reach the sky. From a distance, one could feel the powerful sword power spreading out. There seemed to be a demonic light flickering in Xiao Wan's eyes, as if he could see through everything. The Jianghu sword faction's distribution is not simple. They seem to be secretly studying something related to demons. Xiao Wan muttered. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Jianghu sword sect was actually researching something related to demons? That was why Xiao Wan had chosen this place. Buzz. With Lu Ming in tow, Xiao Wan took a step forward and appeared in the sky above the Heavenly Sword edge. Who is it? This is the Heavenly Sword faction's assignment. Unrelated people, get lost. As soon as they appeared, the experts on the heaven-connecting sword peak sensed them and let out a loud shout with a cold killing intent. The person who will kill you. You're courting death. Xiao Wan said coldly. A small red pagoda appeared in his hand and rapidly enlarged until it finally turned into a giant pagoda that reached the sky. It was comparable to the sword blade that reached the sky. A scorching aura emanated from it, and a light shield-like object emerged from it. It was scarlet in color and exuded an astonishing temperature. Is this a domain? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with amazement. An emperor's intent would evil a veer into a domain, and an emperor's spiritual weapon would also contain a domain, which was extremely terrifying. Fire domain. Not good. It's an emperor. An emperor is attacking. Activate the formation. Activate the formation. As soon as the king's spiritual weapon was taken out, the heaven-connecting sword was in chaos and screams of fear could be heard. Suppress. With a wave of his hand, Xiao Wan's abundant genuine vitality poured into the fiery pagoda, which pressed down on the heavenly sword. At this moment, countless inscriptions appeared around the heaven-reaching sword blade, forming a large formation. A beam of sword chi shot up and blasted toward the small red tower. Boom. With an earth-shattering explosion, the sword chi was destroyed. The giant tower suppressed everything and smashed hard on the mountain-protecting formation of the heavenly sword peak. The great mountain-protecting formation shook violently and almost collapsed. Suppress. Xiao Wan bellowed as he continued to control the pagoda. This time, with a deafening boom, the protective formation of the heavenly sword peak was broken. The formation was broken and the giant tower hit the peak. The entire sword peak shook violently and then exploded. At this moment, the sword peak was filled with screams. Countless disciples of the Sky Martial Sword faction screamed as they were turned into ashes by the terrifying energy. Even some powerful high-level spiritual gods spat out mouthfuls of blood and were severely injured. Who are you? The Heavenly Martial Sword faction will definitely kill you. An angry roar was heard, and a bright sword light shot up from the bottom of the sword peak, as if it was going to split the world in half. Supreme, this was a Supreme. The person who will kill you. Demonic chi rolled around Xiao Wan like a peerless demonic god. He controlled the Emperor's spiritual weapon to suppress his opponent. At the same time, Xiao Wan strode forward. His muscles bulged and a demonic light that seemed to contain infinite power emerged. Boom. He threw a punch and the space was smashed into pieces. Chapter 1158. 1158 Chapter 1158 Sword Emperor. The supreme martial artist of the Jianghu sword school let out a long roar. His sword power was vast and mighty, shattering the sky. He slashed out a shocking sword light, which hit the giant pagoda and stopped it. However, on the other side, Xiao Wan's demonic fist arrived again. Endless sword chi floated around the supreme martial artist of the Jianghu sword school. It finally gathered into a sword, and like 1,000 swords returning to their roots, it stabbed toward Xiao Wan. Boom. Xiao Wan's demonic fist struck the sword chi, causing it to shake violently before finally collapsing. Although the supreme martial artist of the Jianghu sword school was strong, he had to resist the Emperor's spiritual weapon and Xiao Wan at the same time. He was already at a disadvantage. Spirit body, you're a spirit body. You're an emperor? Seeing Xiao Wan destroy his sword chi with a single punch, the other party immediately cried out in alarm. Kill? Xiao Wan bellowed as he strode forward, his demonic fist crushing down on his opponent. Above him, the giant pagoda trembled and continued to suppress the other party. The supreme martial artist from the Heavenly Martial Sword School was shocked. He immediately used the bloodline fusion and transformed into a combat sword. His bloodline was at the 6th level of the divine level, which was equivalent to the clan heads of the 6 great ancient clans of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. The bloodline fusion had improved his combat strength, but Xiao Wan was unrivaled. His immortal demonic body was terrifying. If he was at his peak, he could crush an emperor. Boom. Boom. Xiao Wan's demonic fist continued to strike out. At the same time, the giant pagoda also came down. The flame domain in the giant pagoda enveloped the supreme being of the Jianghu sword school, causing him to be suppressed by the terrifyingly high temperature. Although the supreme martial artist from the Heavenly Martial Sword School tried his best to slash out a shocking sword chi, it was still useless. He was suppressed and had less and less power to fight back. Go, all of you, quickly go and inform the sect leader. The supreme martial artist from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction roared. Some of the higher stage spiritual god realm warriors who were still alive looked at the battle in the sky in horror. The supreme martial artist of the Heavenly Martial Sword School was actually at a complete disadvantage and could be defeated at any time. Let's go. Some people flew away, trying to escape and inform the Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School. Don't even think about leaving. Xiao Wan's demonic chi soared to the sky as he punched out a fist radiance that pierced through the void for thousands of miles. A few spirit god experts were instantly enveloped by the fist radiance and killed mercilessly. Clang. Clang. Xiao Wan's demonic fist continued to bombard the sword, causing the sword to tremble. Originally, Xiao Wan's current battle strength wasn't any weaker than his opponent's, and with the help of the Emperor's spirit weapon, Xiao Wan's strength was far above his opponent. After more than 10 punches, the sword collapsed, revealing the true body of the man who was retreating in horror. Boom. The giant pagoda pressed down and the other party tried his best to block it. However, he was still knocked by the giant pagoda and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Xiao Wan rushed over and punched his opponent's chest. His opponent screamed as his chest was pierced through. A large hole appeared and his heart was shattered. His opponent's dantian glowed, and his spiritual god rushed out in an attempt to escape. However, Xiao Wan grabbed his spiritual god and crushed it with a sudden squeeze. his spiritual god was crushed into a stream of energy that Xiao Wan absorbed. A supreme martial artist had been killed by Xiao Wan just like that. Boom. The giant tower glowed and enveloped the entire branch of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. The remaining members of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction were all killed. Not a single one was left. Xiao Wan transformed into demonic qi and enveloped all the experts of the Heavenly Sword sect, becoming his tonic. Save some for me. Lu Ming flew at top speed, collecting the storage rings one by one. Unfortunately, those experts had all become Xiao Wan's tonics, not leaving a single one for him. What a pity! Lu Ming cried out. However, he had just devoured 3 8th-level spiritual god realm experts and there were impurities in them. He needed some time to polish them and stabilize his foundation. If he continued devouring, his foundation might become even more unstable. At the thought of this, Lu Ming felt relieved and continued to collect the storage rings. Not long after, Lu Ming had put away all the storage rings. However, Xiao Wan did not give Lu Ming the Supreme Martial Artist's storage ring. He kept it for himself. The Supreme Martial Artist's wealth must have tempted Xiao Wan. Boom. After absorbing all the tonics, Xiao Luan transformed into a human and punched the ground. A shocking demonic qi shot up into the sky from the ground, and a terrible pressure spread out. Why do I feel like I'm facing the Demon Empress? Lu Ming was shocked. Could it be that a Demon Emperor was hiding underground? How was this possible? As expected, the Heavenly Martial Sword School is very ambitious. They're actually secretly making a demon fetus. Xiao Wan muttered to himself, an ecstatic smile on his face. Senior, what is a demon fetus? Lu Ming came to Xiao Wan's side and looked down. Demonic qi filled the air underground. A tall human-shaped figure could be vaguely seen in the demonic qi. The rolling demonic qi was coming from this figure. The Jianghu sword sect must have obtained the corpse of a fallen demon emperor, and then refined it with a special method. In the end, it can be refined into a powerful existence under the Jianghu sword sect's command. This existence is the demon fetus. Once it's refined, it will have the combat power of an emperor. It seems that the Jianghu sword sect is far from finished refining it, and now it's all mine. After refining this demon fetus, my strength can be restored to the emperor realm. Xiao Wan laughed and transformed into a ball of demonic qi. It flew down and wrapped around the tall figure and began to refine it. Lu Ming could only wait at the side. Soon half an hour had passed. Selah. In the sky, the space was suddenly torn open, and a middle-aged man in a white robe with a sword on his back stepped out of the spatial crack. The middle-aged man looked around as soon as he stepped out of the spatial crack. Suddenly, a sword power that seemed to be able to destroy the world burst out and covered the territory within a radius of 10,000 miles. The Emperor, it's the Emperor. Lu Ming's pupils contracted sharply. He was extremely shocked. He knew that the Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School had arrived. This was a sword emperor that could slash the world with his sword. The Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction looked at Lu Ming, but his gaze only swept past him and landed on the ball of demonic qi on the ground. I don't care who you are. Since you dared to destroy one of my Heavenly Sword faction's divisions, you won't be able to leave today. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School waved his hand, and a dazzling sword qi shot toward Xiao Wan. The power of the sword qi was several times stronger than that of the Supreme Being. Haha, a junior dares to be impudent in front of me. Within the demonic qi, a loud laugh came out. A jet-black fist radiance flew out and collided with the sword qi. The fist radiance and the sword qi collided, stirring up an endless energy storm. All the mountains and mountains within a radius of 10,000 miles were swept by the energy storm, directly cracking and exploding into pieces. With one move, he destroyed the mountains and rivers within a radius of 10,000 miles. A battle between emperors was too terrifying. It could destroy the heavens and earth. Although Lu Ming was under the protection of Xiao Wan's demonic aura, he was still shocked by the power. The power of an emperor is indeed shocking. It's far from what I can match now. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Whoosh! Endless demonic qi rolled, and Xiao Wan's figure flickered in and out of sight. A supreme aura emanated from his body. Chapter 1159. 1159 Chapter 1159 Scheme. It was obvious that Xiao Wan had recovered a great deal, and his strength was unfathomable. Buzz. With a sword cry, the Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School unsheathed his sword, which resonated with the mountains and rivers. The sound of the sword made Lu Ming's body shake. He felt his eardrums rumble and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Big words kill? The Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School was very powerful. As he took a step forward, it was as if his entire body had turned into a combat sword. Endless sword chi swam around his body. I killed more than one ordinary sword body back then. As Xiao Wan's voice rang out, the giant pagoda trembled and flew out, suppressing the other party. Whoosh! His opponent swung his sword and the whole world was split open. A terrifying sword light slashed on the giant tower. The power exploded, breaking the flame domain of the giant tower and blocking it. At the same time, several terrifying sword chi shot toward Xiao Wan. Domain of sword, humph. Xiao Wan snorted coldly. He withdrew his boundless demonic chi and revealed his true form. His body glowed with demonic light, as if it contained boundless power. Boom. Boom. He threw out a few consecutive punches which collided with the sword chi of the other party. A violent boom rang out, and the ground was directly cut 100 miles deep by the sweeping energy. Bang. The sword chi was destroyed, but Xiao Wan's body also took a step back. He stomped on the space and it exploded, revealing a pitch-black space. Xiao Wan seemed to be at a slight disadvantage. But at this moment the other party did not continue to attack. Instead he widened his eyes and stared at Xiao Wan. You are Xiao Wan? The Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School said with great difficulty. He was filled with disbelief. In the past, Xiao Wan had rebelled against the imperial family and launched a shocking war with the imperial family, the Xie clan. Many forces had participated in that war and witnessed Xiao Wan's supreme demonic power. There were portraits of Xia Luan in many of the overlord forces, and many of those portraits had been drawn by emperors. One could even sense Xia Luan's demonic might and aura from the portraits. There was such a portrait in the Heavenly Martial Sword sect. The Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword sect had personally experienced it before, and it was exactly the same as Xiao Wan. Therefore he was immediately stunned, shocked, and in disbelief. How could the Supreme Demon Emperor from 30,000 years ago appear now? Let's go. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao Wan did not linger in the battle. Instead, he tore open the space and stepped into the spatial rift with Lu Ming, disappearing from the place. Only the Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School was left at the scene. Xiao Wan, it's definitely Xiao Wan. With Xiao Wan's appearance, the world is going to be in chaos again. The Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword School muttered to himself. After a while, his eyes glowed as he muttered to himself, "That's good. This is an opportunity, perhaps an opportunity for our Heavenly Martial Sword sect. It's just a pity for that demon fetus." The Martial Emperor of the Heavenly Martial Sword sect sighed. Then he suddenly looked in one direction and two bright sword lights shot out of his eyes. He scolded, "Who is it?" "Haha, Wuxia Sword Emperor, how are you?" A loud laugh was heard. A bolt of lightning flashed in the sky, and a middle-aged man wearing a blue thunder battle robe appeared in the air. "Thunderblade Emperor, why are you here?" Sword Emperor Wuxia frowned. The Thunder Saber Emperor was the sect master of the Sky Thunder Saber sect, an overlord force and an emperor. The royal family Xie family has spread the news to the world and activated the Heaven Secrets instrument in order to capture Lu Ming. However, I have a feeling that it's not that simple. I just happened to come out of seclusion, so I came out for a walk. I sensed a strong fluctuation here, so I rushed over to take a look. The Thunder Saber Emperor explained. He looked around and said, "Wuxia, this should be one of your Heavenly Sword faction's branches, right? It seems that the branch has been destroyed. You were the one fighting with the other party just now, right?" "Where was he?" "What? Even you can't make him stay?" "They've already left." The Wuxia Sword Emperor said. "Who is it? The remaining demonic chi here is extremely shocking. Could it be the Demon Emperor of the Demon Mountain?" The Thunderblade Emperor's eyes flashed as he asked tentatively. Martial Emperor Wuxia pondered for a while and said, "It's not the Demon Emperor from Demon Mountain. You won't be able to guess who this person is even in your dreams." "Who is it?" The Thunder Saber Emperor asked curiously when he saw Martial Emperor Wuxia's serious face. "Xiao Wan, Sovereign of Chaotic Heavens, Xiao Wan." Wu Ju and Wu Huang said each word clearly. What? What? Even with the Thunder Saber Emperor's mental fortitude, he was still stunned at this moment. He was dumbfounded and in disbelief. Wu Jue, are you seeing things or are you just joking with me? Xiaowan, the Xiaowan of 30,000 years, how could he still be alive? The Thunder Blade Emperor said in disbelief. Do I look like I'm joking? The Wujue Sword Emperor said coldly. The Thunder Saber Emperor fell silent. His eyes flickered as if he was thinking about something. After a while he said, if it's really Xiaowan, I'm afraid the Imperial family will be in chaos. I know why the Imperial family activated the Heaven Secrets instrument. Their target is not Lu Ming but Xiaowan. That's most likely the case. Moreover, Xiaowan hasn't recovered to his peak state yet. He's not even my match. Wu Ju and Wu Huang said. If that's the case, do you have any way to track Xiaowan's qi? We'll follow him and see what he's going to do next. The Thunder Martial Emperor said. Xiaowan used a disciple of the Heavenly Martial Sword sect as a tonic to recover his demonic body. His presence hasn't been completely eliminated yet, so I can use a secret technique to pursue him. That's good. I'll go and see what Xiaowan is up to. Sword Emperor Wu Jue said. He began to use a secret technique to capture Xiaowan's aura. Xiaowan brought Lu Ming across the space several times before stopping. I still haven't recovered to the Emperor realm. I'm still a little weaker than that kid. Xiaowan said. That kid, he was referring to Sword Emperor Wu Jue. Senior is still not a match for the Emperor. Lu Ming asked. I can barely fight. Ordinary emperors can't do anything to me. With your Emperor's spiritual weapon I can fight ordinary emperors. However, if we fight for a long time, it'll be disadvantageous to me. Now that my identity has been exposed, I'm afraid that all the emperors in the world will find ways to find us. It'll be very disadvantageous for us next. Xiaowan said. Although he said this, a cold smile still hung on his face. Senior, do you have any good moves? Seeing Xiaowan's expression, Lu Ming knew that Xiaowan had an idea. Didn't the royal family use all their strength to hunt us down? Then I'll make sure the royal family doesn't have the mind to hunt us down. In fact, I'll make the divine wilderness continent fall into chaos and attack each other. This way I'll have time to recover. Xiaowan said. Cause the divine wilderness continent to descend into chaos? Attacking each other? Lu Ming was secretly shocked, but he was also full of doubts. What method did Xiaowan have to cause the world to be in chaos and attack each other? I have a Heavenly King's token with me. It once belonged to the royal family. As long as I take out this Heavenly King's token, it's enough to make those royal warriors go crazy. Lu Ming, let's go to the holy city. The show is about to start. Xiaowan laughed and tore open space with Lu Ming, heading for the holy city. Chapter 1160. 1160 Lu Ming comes to the holy city. In a hidden hall in the sacred city, a round ball was floating in the air, emitting a bright light. Inscriptions appeared and glowed on the ball. If Lu Ming was here, he would be able to recognize that the ball was exactly the same as the projection of the Heaven Secrets instrument floating above his head. This was the Heaven Secrets instrument's main body. In the sky above the Heaven Secrets device, there was a huge array board that was emitting a mysterious light. Around the Heaven Secrets instrument, there were a dozen people standing quietly and observing. Suddenly, the Heaven Secrets instrument began to shine, and a dot of light appeared on the disk array above it. More than a dozen people at the scene were alarmed. The Heaven Secrets instrument has sensed something. The array disk has a light spot. Lu Ming has appeared. He's within 1,000,000 miles. An old man called out in disbelief. Shouldn't Lu Ming be hiding somewhere far away? How could he still dare to appear within 1,000,000 miles of the sacred city? Look, he's quickly approaching the holy city. He's approaching the holy city. The others all exclaimed in disbelief. The disk array showed that the dot of light was rapidly approaching the holy city. This meant that Lu Ming was heading toward the holy city. Quick, spread the news. The old man in the lead said. Then they all took out their jade voice transmission talismans and sent the news out. In fact, there was no need for them to spread the news. In the holy city, some people had sensed the Heaven Secrets energy field array disk and discovered this at the same time. Lu Ming was actually approaching the holy city at a high speed. Many experts in the sacred city were alarmed. More powerful cultivators from the royal family and the Xia family were alarmed. They flew out from all directions toward the eastern city wall of the holy city. According to the array disk, Lu Ming was coming from the east and would be close to the eastern city wall. For a moment, wind and clouds gathered on the eastern wall of the sacred city. Many experts arrived and the city wall was filled with people. They're coming, they're almost there. Some people looked at the disk array and realized that the dot of light was getting closer and closer to the sacred city. Not long after, a black-robed young man with long hair casually draped over his shoulders flew over from the distant sky. Lu Ming, it was Lu Ming. At this moment, the projection of the Heaven Secrets instrument was suspended above Lu Ming's head, shining brightly. Earlier, Xie Wan had brought Lu Ming along and tore through space in the direction of the holy city. When they were within 1,000,000 miles of the holy city, Xie Wan undid the seal on the door of seals and released the projection of the Heaven Secrets instrument. Then it entered Lu Ming's spine and disappeared. As for Lu Ming, he was stepping in the air and heading towards the holy city. At that moment, everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. I didn't expect Lu Ming to come to the holy city. Isn't this like sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth? Could it be that he knows that he can't escape, so he came to turn himself in? It's possible. It's strange. I remember that during the million-year sacrifice, Lu Ming took the initiative to enter the Abyss Demon realm and wanted to take the 16th princess away. Moreover, the royal family even tried to kill us, and they even offered us a heavenly treasure like the Heavenly Secrets instrument. Everyone is curious about this, let alone you. However, many of the royal family's higher-ups do not know the exact reason, let alone us. However, there is one thing that we can be sure of. Lu Ming must have done something extraordinary to cause the royal family and the Xie family to be in such a state. Some of the powerhouses from the other forces were secretly discussing, but no one made a move. Lu Ming stood in the air 100 miles away from the city wall. Lu Ming, how dare you break out of the Abyss Demon territory without permission? You've committed a terrible crime and should be executed by 1,000 cuts. A gloomy voice sounded. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. It was Xie Zhen. Lu Ming cast a casual glance at Xie Zhen and sneered. It's ridiculous. I entered the Abyss Demon territory of my own will, and I can leave and stay as I please. Besides, Xie Qiqian is obviously trying to keep me in the Abyss Demon territory for the rest of my life by getting those points. He even made it sound so grand. What a despicable man. How dare you? How dare you slander my father? I'm going to kill your entire family. No one can save you today. Xie Zhen berated loudly with an air of superiority. Oh, all right, in terms of age you're older than me. Make your move, come and kill me. Lu Ming said. You. Xie Zhen was stunned. Humph, a loser, a piece of trash, do you dare to make a move? I can suppress you with one finger. Lu Ming said loudly, his voice full of disdain. Xie Zhen's face was completely red. In terms of age he was of the same generation as Lu Ming and he was even older than Lu Ming. However, he did not dare to fight Lu Ming. Lu Ming could probably suppress him with one finger. Lu Ming. At this time a cold voice sounded. The voice was clear and pleasant to the ears, but it was filled with a faint sense of pride. A peerless beauty in a snow-white dress with a milky white radiance emanating from her body stepped through the air. She was incomparably holy, like a fairy from the 9 heavens descending to the mortal world. Her body bloomed with holy light, and with every step she took, a milky white lotus flower would appear in the sky, supporting her feet. 9th Princess. Thank you, Nianjuan. Many people's eyes were attracted by this figure. She was Xian Yinjuan, one of the 5 beauties of the central continent and ranked 2nd among the 5 young tycoons. This proud daughter of the heavens, a proud daughter of the heavens who had gathered thousands of halos on her. Lu Ming's gaze also fell on her. Her appearance was very similar to Xian Yanqing's, but her temperament was completely different. Lu Ming had long known that Xian Yanqing and Xian Yinjuan had the same father but not the same mother. It was amazing that they looked so similar. Xian Yinjuan stepped into the air and stood in front of the crowd. He looked at Lu Ming and said in a cold and arrogant voice, Lu Ming, you were the one who took Xian Yanqing away, right? Hand her over, the variant of the Xie family with a lowly and dirty bloodline. She will guard the demon area of hell forever and hunt down the Masha clan for the Xie family to compensate for what she owes the Xie family. Haha, laughable, truly laughable. Xian Yinjuan's words made Lu Ming burst out laughing uncontrollably. You're saying that Yanqing owes your Xie family? You really know how to distort the truth. In my opinion, it's your Xia family that owes Nianqing, and you won't be able to pay it back in your lifetime. Lu Ming laughed out loud. Her bloodline has tarnished the reputation of the royal Xia family. What else does she owe the Xia family? Xian Yinjuan said with a frown. Dog's hit. All of you are fucking bullshit. A bunch of self-righteous people. What is your Xia family? What was the royal family? No wonder the ancient Saint dynasty has become so weak. To be controlled by such a group of short-sighted people, it would be strange if they aren't weak. In my opinion, the ancient Saint dynasty should be destroyed. Lu Ming shouted loudly, his voice spreading throughout the entire venue. Especially the last sentence, the ancient Saint dynasty shall be destroyed, which made many people's hearts tremble. He was too bold. He was simply too audacious. Lu Ming actually dared to say such words in public. This was an insult to the royal Xia family and a slap to their face. Sure enough, many people from the imperial family and the Xia family went crazy. Their faces turned red as they angrily rebuked. Chapter 1161. 1161 Xian Yanqing vs. Xian Yinjuan. Audacious, impudent, and arrogant. He's looking for death. Let me kill him. Let me cripple him and let him taste the most painful punishment in the world. The imperial family Xia clan's people shouted in anger, releasing cold killing intent. Boom. Xian Yinjuan's body exploded with a shocking aura. Her beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent. The powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming as she said in a cold voice, Lu Ming, saving your life back then was the biggest mistake I've ever made. But it's fine. It's the same if I kill you today. You? It might not be enough. Lu Ming gave a contemptuous smile. Xian Yinjuan's cultivation was very strong. He was at the peak of the third level of the spiritual god realm. His aura was powerful and his body contained a terrifying amount of energy. Lu Ming felt that he was even stronger than Dark Child. If Lu Ming were to fight her during the million-year sacrifice, he would not have the confidence to win. But now he didn't care about Xian Yinjuan. Lu Ming, don't think that you're the best in the world just because you defeated Dark Child. If I had made a move back then, I would have been able to suppress you. Xian Yinjuan took another step forward. His aura was powerful and his body glowed with a milky white light, making him look even more holy and noble. Could it be that Xian Yinjuan is going to fight Lu Ming? Many people's eyes were filled with anticipation. In the million-year national sacrifice, Lu Ming had defeated many powerful figures in a row, showing his invincible attitude. In the end, when he faced Long Qin, Lu Ming admitted defeat directly. Many people regretted that they did not see who was the strongest. Xian Yinjuan did not take part in that battle. This caused many people to discuss in secret, comparing Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming to guess who was stronger. After all, Xian Yanqing was ranked second among the 5 giants of Central Continent, second only to Long Qin. He had never fought anyone before, so it was hard to tell who was stronger. Was the battle finally about to begin? At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Then he waved his hand and a ray of light flashed. Xian Yanqing appeared beside Lu Ming. Just now, Xian Yanqing had sent a message to Lu Ming through Dandan, saying that he wanted to come out. Lu Ming had let Xian Yanqing out. This is... Xian Yanqing attracted everyone's attention the moment he came out. In the sacred city, almost everyone's eyes fell on Xian Yanqing, and then on Xian Yinjuan. They were shocked because the two were too similar. Why does this woman look so similar to Xian Yinjuan? They are both devastatingly beautiful. Who is she? I know. It's said that the current sage emperor has 3 princesses, all of whom are peerless in their generation. Among them, the 16th princess has been hidden by the royal family because she was born with a foreign bloodline. This girl should be the 16th princess. It should be. The 3 princesses of the current sage emperor are truly devastatingly beautiful. This 16th princess's beauty is not inferior to the 5 great beauties at all. I wonder how her martial arts talent is? A wave of discussion came from the surroundings. Many people had long heard of the name of the 16th princess, but not many had actually seen her in person, so they were naturally surprised. So, you really did leave the Abyss Demon territory with him. Now, surrender and go back to the Abyss Demon territory. Stay here and hunt the Fiend clan for the rest of your life. Don't even think about wandering outside and embarrassing the royal family. Xian Yinjuan looked at Xian Yanqing coldly. Xian Yanqing's face was cold as he stared at Xian Yinjuan. Xian Yinjuan, you don't have to put on that arrogant face. You've been loved by everyone since you were a child and you've been surrounded by halos. What a joke. Today I'm going to stomp you under my feet and let the world see how weak your so-called holiness and so-called orthodoxy are. As Xian Yanqing's voice rang out, endless demonic qi surged from her body and her powerful aura clashed with Xian Yanjuan's. If you want to fight me, then I'll fulfill your wish. Xian Yanjuan said coldly. A milky white pillar of holy light rose from his body. At the same time, a black demonic qi rose from Xian Yanqing's body. One black and one white, the two beams of light collided in the air. Boom. The clouds in the sky were scattered and a strong wind swept through. Let's go up and fight, Xian Yanqing said as he flew into the sky. Xian Yanjuan's eyes were cold as he too flew into the sky. One black and one white, the two light shadows collided and tore the space into pieces. Sky Devil Force Field. 9 Heavens Holy Domain. Two delicate yells rang out as the two of them displayed their unique skills and fought in the air. In the blink of an eye they had exchanged more than a dozen blows. The attacks of Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan were very similar, but one was of the demonic Tao, while the other was of the holy Tao. Black lotus flowers appeared around Xian Yanqing and turned into lotus swords. As for Xian Yanjuan, milky white lotus flowers appeared around him. They also transformed into sword radiances and fought with Xian Yanqing. The sword qi soared into the sky and the light was bright. For a moment the two were locked in a fierce battle. The spectators all took in a cold breath and were extremely shocked. She's so strong. The 16th princess is so strong. She can actually fight with the 9th princess. That's scary. It turns out that the Princess 16, who has been hidden all this time, is also a peerless talent. She's too strong. She's definitely a heaven's favorite at the level of a giant. The royal family's generation is really full of talents. It's rare to see two giants in one sect. I really don't get it. A heaven's favorite with unparalleled talent like him is being suppressed by the imperial family and the Xie clan. If any other power had a heaven's favorite like him, they would do everything they could to nurture him. He'd be an unrivaled emperor in the future. The sound of discussion spread out, especially into the ears of the imperial family's Xie family. It was exceptionally harsh. What's the use of a mutant's talent? He should be suppressed, forever suppressed, or else he'll be a traitor. Xie Zhen coldly snorted. He gritted his teeth in his heart, but there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Xian Yanqing was too talented. The more talented he was, the more afraid he was and the more he wanted Xian Yanqing to die. As he mulled over this, Xie Zhen's gaze fell on Lu Ming. It was all because of Lu Ming. He had no idea what method Lu Ming had used to save Xian Yanqing from the Abyss Demon Realm. Lu Ming, I advise you to surrender. You won't be able to escape today. Surrender and I'll give you a quick death. Xie Zhen said, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Alright, you can make your move. If you can take one of my moves, I'll surrender. Lu Ming said contemptuously. You. Don't be so arrogant. Xie Zhen angrily rebuked. Lu Ming, I'll take you down. There's no need for the 8th prince to do anything. I'll kill you. A middle-aged brawny man stepped out. He had a powerful aura and his eyes were cold. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this was an expert at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. Alright, Venerable Su, capture Lu Ming for me and you'll be heavily rewarded. Xie Zhen was overjoyed as he said. The brawny man was the royal family's venerable guardian. He was powerful and had a cultivation of the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. If he were to take action, Lu Ming would be taken down with 100% certainty. You want to make a move? Fine, get over here and accept your death. Lu Ming said contemptuously. Chapter 1162. 1162 Defeating an 8th level spiritual god. It's easy for young people to die young if they're so arrogant. Venerable Su's eyes were cold. He took a few steps forward and approached Lu Ming rapidly. The aura on his body grew stronger and stronger. Buzz. A soft whip appeared in his hand. It was covered with hooks and glinted coldly under the sunlight. With a wave of his hand, the soft whip grew rapidly until it was more than 10 miles long. Like a venomous snake, it rolled towards Lu Ming. The soft whip cut through the air, making an ear-piercing sound, and a hideous crack appeared in the space. In the face of such an attack, Lu Ming's expression was calm. His body swayed slightly and he dodged the attack. He stepped forward and charged toward Venerable Su. You can't escape. Inescapable net, 10,000 heavy kill. Venerable Su bellowed as he lashed out with his soft whip. Like a real dragon circling in the air, it transformed into layers of whip shadows that wrapped around Lu Ming like an inescapable net, sealing off all his escape routes. Why would I need to escape? Just break it. A calm voice rang out. From within Lu Ming's body, a dragon's roar could be heard. His essential core boiled as he threw a punch. Boom. This punch seemed to push the entire space forward, causing it to explode. A terrifying fist force rushed towards the heavy whip shadows. Those whip shadows collapsed instantly, turning into fragments that scattered in all directions, just like a broken tree branch. The terrifying power even followed the soft whip and rushed towards Venerable Su. His expression changed greatly, and his body trembled as he retreated. Buzz. A figure flashed and suddenly appeared in front of him. Not good. Venerable Su's heart trembled and he subconsciously threw a punch. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Boom. Once again Lu Ming threw a punch as fast as lightning. It hit Venerable Su's chest. Arc. Venerable Su screamed in despair as his entire body exploded. Even his spiritual god wasn't spared. The devouring power burst out and enveloped Venerable Su. His essence, energy and spirit were all devoured by Lu Ming. Your lackey is dead. Aren't you going to fight personally? Lu Ming was cold and indifferent as he looked at Xie Zhen with disdain. This made Xie Zhen grit his teeth, but in his heart he was also extremely shocked. An expert at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm was actually killed by Lu Ming so easily. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying, right? The expressions of the other spectators also changed drastically. Lu Ming's abilities have improved greatly since the million-year sacrificial ceremony. Such shocking talent is rare. Xian Yinjuan is no match for him now. I wonder how he'll fare against Long Chen. I don't know, but it's a pity. No matter how talented Lu Ming is, no matter how powerful he is, the result is already set. Don't forget, this is the holy city. Even if an emperor came, he might not be able to leave, let alone Lu Ming. While many people were shocked by Lu Ming's combat strength and talent, they also felt sorry for him. This was the holy city. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, the outcome was already decided. To have such cultivation and battle prowess at your age is something that has rarely been seen since ancient times. I truly admire you. If you swear a blood oath and surrender to the Imperial Xie clan, I'll plead with the Saint Emperor and spare your life. What do you say? A white-haired old man stepped into the air and walked toward Lu Ming, looking like a sage. His body emitted a terrifying aura that was several times stronger than that of Venerable Su. Peak 8th level spiritual god realm. There was a glint in Lu Ming's eyes. The white-haired old man did not hide his cultivation at all. Lu Ming could tell at a glance. You're only at the 8th level of the spiritual god realm. Do you have the right to ask the sage emperor to spare me? You really think too highly of yourself. Lu Ming pursed his lips casually and said in disdain. This is at least a chance, isn't it? If you refuse, you won't even stand a chance. Being looked down upon by Lu Ming, a sharp glint flashed in the white-haired elder's eyes as he spoke in a deep voice. He just you? I'm afraid he's not qualified. Lu Ming smiled, his disdain growing. How arrogant. You won't stand a chance if I attack. The white-haired old man's eyes were filled with anger. His body emitted a milky white light and his eyes were cold. Although Lu Ming had easily killed a 7th level spiritual god expert, he was at the peak of the 8th level spiritual god realm. He was much stronger than a 7th level spiritual god and could easily kill a 7th level spiritual god expert. Therefore he was confident that he could suppress Lu Ming. After all, Lu Ming was young. No matter how strong he was, it would not be too outrageous. Whoosh! A beam of white sword light bloomed from the white-haired elder's hand, piercing through the vast sky and heading toward Lu Ming. This sword was sharp, ruthless, stunning and terrifying. With just one strike he was already stronger than Venerable Su, who was at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. A dragon's roar resounded from within Lu Ming's body. The third bloodline emerged on top of his head, and a surge of energy surged into Lu Ming's body, causing his strength to increase explosively. Bang! He took a step forward and struck out with his palm. The power of the palm was shocking. It broke through the sky and formed a terrifying palm blade that slashed at the old man's white sword light. Buzz! There was a sharp explosion and the white sword gleam dissipated. Lu Ming rushed toward the old man. The old man's expression changed slightly. The long sword in his hand was constantly thrust out, and streams of snow-white sword light, like brilliant crystal lights, were aimed at Lu Ming. The sword gleams were dense and endless as they poured toward Lu Ming. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming clenched his fists and continued to bombard them. Lu Ming's fist seemed to have turned into a prison-suppressing steel that suppressed everything. A series of explosions rang out in the sky. The white-haired elder's sword gleams were continuously being destroyed. Lu Ming charged up against the sword gleams and charged towards the elder. The white-haired elder's expression changed. It became very ugly and very serious. With a loud shout, his bloodline appeared. He performed the bloodline fusion and turned into a milky white combat sword. With a shake of the combat sword, more and more sharp sword gleams poured toward Lu Ming. Break! The 9 dragons emerged. Lu Ming transformed into the 9 dragons and rushed up, breaking all the sword gleams. The claws of the 9 dragons grabbed the milky white combat sword continuously. The milky white sword shook violently and then collapsed, revealing the white-haired old man's true body. At this moment, the white-haired elder was in a sorry state. He no longer had the sage-like demeanor he had before. His hair was disheveled, his clothes were ragged, and his white robe was covered in blood. His eyes were filled with fear as he desperately rushed towards the city walls of the sacred city. At this moment, in the sacred city, countless people who saw this scene took in a deep breath and were extremely shocked. Even an expert at the peak of the 8th level of the spiritual god realm had been defeated. He was seriously injured by Lu Ming and had to flee for his life in a sorry state. This was simply too unbelievable. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. A youth who was not even 30 years old was able to severely injure an old expert at the 8th level of the spiritual god realm. Such an example was rarely recorded in the divine wilderness continent since ancient times. This had already exceeded common sense and was too terrifying. Now, many people were suspicious whether Long Qin, who was known as the world's #1, was still a match for Lu Ming. In the sky, Xian Yanjuan, who was fighting with Xian Yanqing, naturally sensed this scene. His heart trembled and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Lu Ming's combat ability had far surpassed her. As proud as she was, she found it hard to accept. A huge dragon claw appeared out of thin air above the white-haired old man's head and clawed down. The white-haired old man had almost reached the top of the city wall. He had just heaved a sigh of relief when his pupils suddenly widened. He let out a desperate roar, "No!" Bang! In the next moment he was crushed to death by the dragon claw. "I've said it before, since you've entered the battle, you must die." The 9 dragons shrank and transformed into Lu Ming's true form. Lu Ming said in a cold voice. Many people gasped, especially Xie Zhen. He felt cold all over and his face was pale as he looked at Lu Ming in fear. A peak 8th level spiritual god realm expert was first severely injured and had to flee for his life in a sorry state. However, with the help of a supreme being, he was still killed by Lu Ming on the spot. How arrogant, how overbearing. Evil creature, you're looking for death. Xie Qiu bellowed in rage. His killing intent was incomparably cold and dense, as if it was about to materialize. A terrifying aura filled the air, and the earth-shattering pressure of a supreme being spread towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and retreated quickly. Xie Qiu's pressure could not stop him at all. Kill? Xie Qiu shouted and was about to launch a lightning-like attack. Qiu, stop. At this moment, a majestic voice rang out. Upon hearing this voice, Xie Qitian was slightly taken aback and stopped. The sky suddenly split open and 3 figures stepped out from the spatial crack. The person in the lead was tall and burly, exuding boundless majesty. Saint Emperor. We pay our respects to the Sage Emperor. Many people quickly saluted. This man was none other than the Sage Emperor Xie Qitian. On the left and right of Xie Qitian stood 2 white-haired elders. Most people had seen them during the million-year sacrificial ceremony. They were also 2 emperors. The 3 sovereigns moved out. Many people's hearts trembled. At the same time they were filled with endless doubts. Was there a need for the Sage Emperor to personally appear just for Lu Ming? Moreover, there were 2 other emperors. Xie Qitian and the 2 sovereigns stepped forward, stopping the battle between Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan. I'll spare you today. Xian Yanjuan glared at Xian Yanqing with killing intent in his eyes. We still don't know who let who off? Xian Yanqing responded strongly. After that, the two of them left. Xian Yanqing returned to Lu Ming's side while Xian Yanjuan returned to Xie Qitian's side. Xie Qitian looked at Xian Yanqing with a complicated expression. Then his gaze fell on Lu Ming. With a serious look he said, "Since you're here, why don't you come out? Why are you hiding?" Xie Qitian's words shocked many people. Could it be that Xie Qitian's target was someone else? Demonic qi seeped out of Lu Ming's body. In the end, the demonic qi gathered around him and condensed into a human figure. It was Xiao Wan. There's really someone here. Some of them had an idea. They guessed that Lu Ming's ability to withstand the Supreme Being's attack earlier was related to this person. However, some of them were stunned when they saw Xiao Wan. Their eyes widened and their mouths opened wider and wider. In the end, their entire bodies trembled violently. Impossible, how is that possible? Why are they so similar? How did this happen? These people mumbled to themselves, their faces full of disbelief. This was especially so for the royal family Xie family, such as Xie Zhen and Xie Qiyu. It was as if they had seen a ghost, and their eyes widened in horror. Who is this person? Why do the people of the imperial family and the Xie clan seem to be so frightened? Those who had never seen Xie Luan's portrait or statue were full of doubts. However, they soon found out the answer. Thank you, Chaos. Xie Qitian slowly and heavily spat out 2 words. Chapter 1164. 1164 The Heavenly King's Order, the Primordial Realm's Situation. These 2 short words were like thousands of thunderbolts exploding in everyone's hearts. Many people were so shocked that they almost jumped up. What? Xiao Wan? The Chaotic Sky Emperor? How is that possible? Hadn't the Chaotic Heaven's divine warrior already died 30,000 years ago? Why are you still alive? Even if he's not dead, he can't have lived for 30,000 years. What's going on? The sacred city was in a clamor. Everyone was shouting and shouting in disbelief. It was too shocking. Who didn't know of Xiao Wan's name in any of the larger factions? Central Continent's current situation was all because of one person, Xiao Wan. No one would have believed it if it were not for Xie Qitian's words that a legendary figure, who had long been thought to be dead, had actually reappeared. Aha, it's been 30,000 years. I didn't expect someone to still remember me. Xiao Wan laughed. These words silenced the crowd and everyone turned to look at Xiao Wan. This person was really Xiao Wan. How can this be? Xiao Wan has reappeared. Is the world going to be in chaos again? Many people had the same thought. There were also some people who thought of more. They finally knew why the royal Xie family had activated the celestial mystery instrument to capture Lu Ming and why they had offered a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure as a reward. It was because of Xiao Wan. Xiao Wan was with Lu Ming. Could it be that Lu Ming was the reason why Xiao Wan was able to return to the world? Many people could not help but think of this. Selah. At that moment, the space behind Xiao Wan and Lu Ming cracked open. 2 figures stepped out. As soon as the 2 of them appeared, their bodies emitted an aura that dominated the world. The aura of an emperor. It's the Wuxia Sword Emperor and the Thunder Saber Emperor. Someone recognized the 2 of them and exclaimed. The others were shocked. They didn't expect that 2 more emperors would be drawn out. Was an earth-shattering battle between emperors going to break out today? Xie Qitian, you're really good. You knew that Xiao Wan had appeared, but you still wanted to use us to get rid of him and test his strength. The Wuxia Sword Emperor said in a cold voice. This time, the Heavenly Martial Sword School had suffered heavy losses. Not only were many spirit god powerhouses killed, but even a division was destroyed. Not only did a supreme martial artist die in battle, but the demon fetus was also lost. If the demon fetus was successfully cultivated, it would be an existence that could fight against emperors. How could the Wuxia Sword Emperor not be angry? I wasn't sure at first whether it was Xiao Wan who was born. Xie Qitian explained casually, but his eyes were still on Xiao Wan. Xiao Wan, I didn't expect that you would still be alive after being suppressed for 30,000 years. You're even able to come out into the world. This is really beyond my expectations. Haha, I have to thank you for sending Lu Ming to the Abyss Demon territory. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to escape. Speaking of which, you're the one who started it. I should be thanking you. Xiao Wan laughed. Many people were shocked. It turned out that the reason why Xiao Wan could return to the world was really because of Lu Ming. In other words, Lu Ming had saved Xiao Wan. Those who knew the inside story sighed. If the royal family of the Xia family had not locked Xian Yinqing up in the Abyss demonic realm, Lu Ming would not have entered the Abyss demonic realm. If Lu Ming had not entered, how could he have saved Xiao Wan? Everything was because of the imperial family. How ironic. Xiao Wan was right. If not for the imperial family, how could Xiao Wan have escaped? Xiao Wan, so what if you've escaped? You've been suppressed for 30,000 years, and your vitality has been greatly damaged. Your demonic body has been injured, and your strength is far from fully recovered. Today I'll kill you completely to prevent any future trouble," said Xie Qitian. His cold killing intent bloomed. The other two sovereigns' auras also spread out from Xie Qitian's side, locking onto Xiao Wan to prevent him from escaping. Wuxia Sword Emperor, Thunder Saber Emperor, why don't you join forces with me to get rid of Xia Luan today? This emperor will definitely reward you greatly. Xie Qitian looked at the Wuxia Sword Emperor and the Thunder Saber Emperor. Xie Qitian, this is your Xia family's business. I won't get involved. The Wuxia Sword Emperor chuckled. I'm not interested either. The Thunder Blade Emperor also shook his head. This made Xie Qitian and the others' eyes flash with killing intent, and they were unhappy. They knew what the Wuxia Sword Emperor and the Thunder Saber Emperor were thinking. If the Imperial Xia family suffered some losses in the battle with Xiao Wan, or even both sides suffered heavy losses, it would be a good thing for the other overlords. They could take the opportunity to weaken the Imperial Xia family, or even destroy them. Why would they help the Xia clan? Junior, I didn't come here today to fight with you. I'm here to give you a treasure. Xiao Wan suddenly laughed. Give him treasures. His words not only confused the others in the sacred city, but even Xie Qitian, Sword Emperor Wuxia, and the others were also confused. Xiao Wan, what are you trying to do? Xie Qitian said in a serious tone. In the ancient records of the Xia clan, Xiao Wan was not only unparalleled in battle strength, but also in stratagems. He had to be on guard. You'll know when you see it. Xiao Wan smiled. He extended his palm and a golden light bloomed from it. It was a golden token. After it appeared, it expanded rapidly, turning into a giant token that was 100 meters tall and dozens of meters wide. On the token there were two words, Heavenly King. As soon as they saw the token, Xie Qitian, the other two sovereigns of the royal family, the Wuxia Sword Emperor, and the Thunder Saber Emperor's eyes widened, and they were filled with greed. The Heavenly King's token, this is the Heavenly King's token. The Heavenly King's token is in your hands? The Wuxia Sword Emperor shouted. His eyes were burning with greed and his eyes were red. Xie Qitian and the other sovereigns were also staring at the Heavenly King's token in Xiao Wan's hand. The Heavenly King token. It's the legendary Heavenly King token. Some of the older spirit god powerhouses could not help but exclaim in shock. This made the others look at each other in confusion. What kind of treasure was this Heavenly King token? It actually made the emperor jealous. This Heavenly King token is indeed very tempting to an emperor. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. On the way here, Xiao Wan had already briefly explained to Lu Ming about the function of the Heavenly King's token. This world was called the Primordial Realm. It was vast and boundless. Although the divine wilderness continent was huge, it was just a grain of sand compared to the entire primordial realm. It was extremely tiny. In the sea, there were countless other continents like the divine wilderness continent. Some were even bigger than the divine wilderness continent. They were several times bigger, or even dozens of times, or even hundreds of times. However, the true core of the primordial realm, the true center, was a piece of land called the Yuan continent. Legend had it that the Yuan continent was the true core of the Yuan realm. That place was vast and boundless, and its surface area was many times larger than the divine wilderness continent. There were countless forces and experts there. Emperors were ordinary people there, and saints who surpassed emperors could be seen everywhere. There was a terrifyingly huge faction there. That faction was not something the so-called overlord factions of the divine wilderness continent could compare to. The difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. Any one of them could destroy all the factions in the divine wilderness continent. The cultivation environment there was also many times better than the divine wilderness continent. Chapter 1165. 1165 Chapter 1165 Fallen Emperor. The cultivation environment of the divine wilderness continent was too terrible for a martial emperor. Cultivating in the divine wilderness continent, martial emperors could not break through or improve. In the Yuan continent, martial emperors could break through continuously. However, it was also extremely dangerous in the Yuan continent. There were countless forbidden places and too many powerful existences. It was extremely dangerous for a martial emperor to walk in the Yuan continent. He could die at any time. Legend had it that in the history of the divine wilderness continent, there were also martial emperors who sought out the Yuan continent in order to break through. They wanted to cultivate there, but they all died. To cultivate in peace in the Yuan continent, one had to join a major power and seek protection. However, the conditions for recruiting disciples were too harsh. Ordinary emperors were not worthy of their attention. Only special conditions could allow them to join. The Heaven Seek King was one of the major powers in the Yuan continent. The Heavenly King token was a kind of token issued by the Heaven King Hall. As long as one held the Heavenly King token, even if one's talent was slightly weaker, one could still join the Heaven King Hall and cultivate there. According to Xiao Wan, the Heavenly King's token had originally belonged to the Imperial Xie clan. The royal Xie family was able to prosper for a long time because they had the Heavenly King token. Every generation of emperors had joined the Heavenly King Hall, so they were able to dominate the divine wilderness continent for 1,000,000 years. However, the Heavenly King token was stolen by Xiaowan 30,000 years ago. With the token of the Heavenly King, one could join the Heavenly King Hall, a major power in the Yuan continent. To an emperor, what kind of temptation was this? When one reached the emperor realm, their goal was to continue breaking through, seek a stronger realm and gain more longevity. Otherwise, they might not be able to break through in the divine wilderness continent for the rest of their lives. Who would be willing to watch as their time came to an end and die slowly? Although he could rule over a region of the divine wilderness continent, all of this was just an illusion. Once the time was up, he would be reduced to dust. For a martial artist, only their realm and strength were true. If they had a choice, most of the sovereigns would choose to go to the Yuan continent and join a big force to seek a stronger realm. Unfortunately, if he could not join a major power and headed to the Yuan continent, the probability of him dying was too high. Hence, the divine wilderness continent's emperors remained on the divine wilderness road. If not, they would have gone to the Yuan continent to cultivate. The Heavenly King token was an opportunity, and it was a fatal temptation for emperors. Previously, when Lu Ming heard all this, he was also shocked. The ocean was much more interesting and mysterious than he had imagined. If there was a chance, Lu Ming would definitely go overseas and visit Yuan Lu. Xiao Wan, the Heavenly King's token, originally belonged to the royal Xie family. Now, quickly give me the Heavenly King's token. Xie Qitian's heart could no longer calm down. He stared at the Heavenly King token fervently and shouted, Xie Qitian, your Xie family has controlled the Heavenly King token for 1,000,000 years. Now it's time for other forces to control it. Xiao Wan, give me the Heavenly King token and I'll do my best to keep you safe. The Wuxia Sword Emperor also shouted. Leave it to me, I'm willing to form an alliance with you. The Thunder Saber Emperor also shouted. They were too tempted and completely lost their sense of propriety. If they could obtain the Heavenly King token, they would immediately leave the divine wilderness continent and head overseas to search for the Yuan continent and join the Heaven Seek King to cultivate. As for their disciples, how could they compare their future to their own? No matter how strong the royal family and the Xie family were, they could just leave without a word. You want the Heavenly King token of my Xie family? You should be destroyed. Xie Qitian shouted, and together with the two emperors of the imperial family, they charged towards Xiao Wan. A smile appeared at the corner of Xiao Wan's mouth, and then he suddenly threw the Heavenly King token at Sword Emperor Wuxia. The Heavenly King's token, here you go. Xiao Wan shrieked. His demonic chi swept up Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, pulling them to the side. The Heavenly King's token is mine. The Wuxia Sword Emperor was ecstatic. She reached out her hand and grabbed the Heavenly King token. Don't even think about it, it's mine. On the side, the Thunder Saber Emperor revealed a greedy light. A bright saber light wrapped in thousands of thunderbolts slashed toward the Wuxia Sword Emperor. Thunder, you're looking for death. The Wuxia Sword Emperor was furious, and a vast sword light burst out, slashing toward the Thunder Saber Emperor. Boom. The sword radiance and the lightning and thunder saber radiance collided, and the sky was filled with sword chi and saber energy. The space was torn apart like a spider web, covering the entire sky. A few streaks of sword chi and saber chi seeped out and slashed the ground below. The ground was directly split open, and a few huge ravines that were more than 10,000 li long appeared. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the sacred city glowed, and a light shield rose up, blocking the force outside. Otherwise, the entire holy city would not be able to withstand a few rounds of turmoil. Hand over the Heavenly King's token. Xie Qitian and the two emperors from the royal family pounced on Sword Emperor Wuxia and launched their strongest attacks. Holy light filled the world. In the sky, it was as if several white suns had appeared. The entire holy city was covered in milky white holy light, so blinding that one could not open their eyes. Boom, boom, boom. There seemed to be a magnitude 10 earthquake in the sky and the earth. The entire space was pierced through. Lu Ming looked into the distance and could only see a few figures fighting wildly. They fought high in the sky and then into the dark space. Whoosh! A sword light accidentally spilled out and stabbed into the ground. An unfathomably deep sword hole suddenly appeared in the ground. After a while, lava actually gushed out. The sword had pierced through the earth's crust. The battle between the emperors was a crazy slaughter. The scene was too shocking. In the holy city, countless people looked on in a daze, stunned by such a terrifying scene. If not for the holy city having an incomparably powerful array protecting it, they would not dare to stand here at all. Once they were affected by the aftershock, it would be a dead end. Everything that happened today was beyond everyone's expectations. The protagonists of today's events were not involvered, but Xie Qitian and the other emperors had an intense battle. Let's go. They don't have time to care about anything else. Let's go to the chaotic domain and find the backup I left behind. When I really recover my emperor cultivation, I won't have to be afraid of them anymore. Xiao Wan said. Then he brought Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing with him, tore open space and disappeared from the place. 3 days later, a piece of news spread across the entire central continent and even the 4 territories. 3 days ago, Lu Ming had gone to the holy city and was the first to display his terrifying combat strength. Later, the rumored fallen divine warrior of chaotic heavens, Xiao Wan, was reborn. He was rescued by Lu Ming from the abyss demon realm, which led to the royal family's pursuit. In the sacred city, Xiao Wan took out the Heavenly King's token, which caused an intense fight between the emperors. That battle was so intense that the heavens and earth cracked, the sun and moon dimmed, and it was extremely tragic. In the end, the Wuxia Sword Emperor was killed by the royal family in that battle, the Thunder Saber Emperor fled with serious injuries, and the Heavenly King token fell into the hands of the royal Xie family. As soon as the news spread, many people were dumbfounded. When Xiao Wan was born, the emperors fought each other and one of them died because of this. It had been many years since an emperor had fallen in battle. But now there was one. All of this was because of one young man, Lu Ming. Chapter 1166. 1166A Plain. In the eastern part of the central continent, in a large city near the Chaos Realm, Lu Ming heard the news and a smile appeared on his face. The central continent was about to fall into chaos. The Jianghu sword sect would definitely go crazy if a sword emperor was killed. It was said that there were 2 emperors in the entire Jianghu sword school. Now that one of them had been killed by the royal family, they would definitely seek revenge. Also, the Heavenly King's token was a treasure that made all human sovereigns envious. Which sovereign wouldn't be tempted? Now that it had been obtained by the royal family, would the other emperors let it go? That was impossible. The battle between the emperors had only just begun. What was to come would definitely be even more intense, and the fight for the Heavenly King token would be even more intense. The royal family and the Xie family might not be able to keep the Heavenly King token. Of course, this was more beneficial to Lu Ming. The royal family no longer had the time to take care of him. They were busy with their own affairs. The most direct manifestation of this was that the projection of the Heaven Secrets instrument had disappeared. It was obvious that the imperial family had stopped the operation of the Heaven Secrets instrument and wanted to spend more effort on how to protect the Heavenly King's token. Fight to your heart's content. Lu Ming smiled, rose into the air and flew toward the chaotic realm. Very soon, Lu Ming flew into the territory of the Chaos Realm. It had been almost 2 years since Lu Ming came to the Chaos Realm again. However, Lu Ming's cultivation was no longer the same as before. The various forbidden areas and powerful existences in the Chaos Realm no longer posed a threat to him. Lu Ming did not slow down at all and flew past at high speed. Down below, a powerful being sensed the terrifying aura on Lu Ming's body and immediately retreated. He did not dare to make any movements for fear of attracting a disaster. Following Xiao Wan's guidance, Lu Ming flew for tens of millions of miles before he came to a dark mountain range. At first glance, the mountain range was black and filled with demonic qi. There were even demonic creatures roaming below. Lu Ming lowered his altitude and flew forward. Roar! Roar! A few demonic beasts with thick demonic qi howled and pounced at Lu Ming with a menacing glint in their eyes. Lu Ming took a step forward and a few demonic beasts were crushed into pieces. Lu Ming's body exuded a terrifying aura. Although the demonic beasts had low intelligence, they could still feel fear and retreated. Lu Ming went all the way in and finally came to a pit. This pit was 100 miles in radius and was so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. Demonic qi continuously seeped out of the pit, extremely dense. This was the place Xiao Wan had mentioned. With a flash of demonic qi, Xiao Wan appeared. Looking at the pit, he muttered, "It's been 30,000 years. I wonder how they're doing? Let's go." Having said that, he immediately jumped into the pit and Lu Ming followed suit. The pit was very deep, and they only reached the bottom after descending for about 1,000 miles. At the bottom, there was a black magic stone with complicated runes engraved on it. Xiao Wan's hands moved, and runes entered the demonic stone. The demonic stone began to glow, and finally cracked open, revealing a dark vortex. A space gate. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this was a space gate. Let's go. Xiao Wan was the first to step into the spatial gate, followed closely by Lu Ming. There was a flash in the space. In the next moment, Lu Ming found that they had appeared on the top of a mountain. Looking up, there were vast mountains all around and black demonic qi filled the space. This was a plain. The backup that Xiao Wan had mentioned was actually a plain. Moreover, this plain was very similar to the Abyss Demon territory. Demonic qi was surging and the heaven and earth were filled with demonic qi, but the heaven and earth spiritual qi and original qi were very thin. Xian Yanqing's figure appeared with a flash of light between his eyebrows. Xian Yanqing looked at the scene in front of him and was a little surprised. Back then, I was afraid that I would be suppressed or seriously injured if I failed, so I found this dimension and left some subordinates to guard this place and a place for me to recover. It's been 30,000 years. I wonder how it is now. Xiao Wan explained. Who's there? You dare to barge into my myriad demons' abyss? At this moment, a loud shout rang out. In the distance, dozens of figures flew over at top speed. Demonic qi suffused their bodies. They were actually all spirit embryo realm martial artists. In the blink of an eye, dozens of burly men in black armor appeared in front of Lu Ming and the rest. All of them were staring at them with cold eyes. However, when their gazes fell on Xia Luan, their expressions changed drastically. Disbelief appeared on their faces and they all cried out, "Ancestor Devil! It's the Ancestor Devil! How is that possible? The fiend ancestor is still alive?" One of them even waved his hand, causing a statue to appear. This statue looked exactly like Xiao Wan, and it was filled with demonic qi, as well as a domineering aura that seemed to be able to dominate the world. "It's really the fiend ancestor," they shouted in disbelief. "Where's your commander? Call him over," Xiao Wan ordered. The dozens of armored men looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. The fiend ancestor they were talking about was Xiao Wan. Obviously, they couldn't believe that Xiao Wan was still alive after 30,000 years. "Please wait a moment, we'll go and report it now," one of the men with the highest cultivation said, then turned around and left. The others quickly followed, turning into dozens of black demonic lights and disappearing. However, after waiting for a while, there was no movement at all. No one came. "Let's go and take a look," Xiao Wan said, frowning. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing nodded and the three of them flew forward. After flying over the mountains, an extremely huge city appeared in front of them. At this moment, the four sides of the giant city were filled with experts. Armored warriors guarded the giant city as if they were facing a great enemy. Among them, there were more than 10 whose auras were extremely terrifying. Supreme. These 10 people were all supreme-level powerhouses. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. It seemed that the place that Ciel Wan had left behind was not to be underestimated. There were actually so many powerful people. Of course, these experts were not those people from 30,000 years ago. They were definitely the descendants of those people. As soon as Lu Ming and the others arrived, all eyes in the giant city fell on Ciel Wan, causing a commotion. The devil ancestor. He's exactly the same as the legendary devil ancestor. Could it really be the return of the fiend ancestor? Unbelievable. One voice after another was heard and they were all shocked. The supreme martial artists were especially shocked. Their auras grew stronger and they stared at Ciel Wan. Where is your commander? Who is he? Tell him to come out and see me. Ciel Wan's brows furrowed even more and his cold and commanding voice rang out. No one answered, not even the supreme martial artists. Their eyes flickered and no one knew what they were thinking. I am Ciel Wan, the chaotic heaven's divine warrior. Why aren't you paying your respects? Ciel Wan's loud shout caused many of the armored men to tremble. How audacious. You actually dare to impersonate the chaotic sky divine warrior. You deserve to be killed. At this moment, a loud shout came from the depths of the city. The sound shook the world and a demonic chi rushed up into the sky, suppressing the surroundings. An emperor. This was the pressure of an emperor. There was actually an emperor hidden here. A tall, burly and handsome figure stepped out of the demonic chi and appeared in front of Lu Ming and the others. His eyes were fixed on Ciel Wan, a little shocked but more so murderous. Chapter 1167. 1167. The 10,000 Devils Pool. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. There was actually a demon emperor lying in wait here. He had never heard of it in the outside world. A demon emperor and so many supreme beings were enough to establish a dominant force in the outside world and compete with the heroes of the world. Aha, I didn't expect the younger generation of the demon abyss to be so good. There's actually an emperor. However, his talent is not bad, and his ambition is not small. Ciel Wan laughed heartily. His words seemed to be hinting at something. It was obvious that Ciel Wan was referring to the other party's great ambitions, and that they wanted to disown Ciel Wan and dominate the world. The other party was wearing black battle armor and had monstrous demonic chi. He snorted coldly and said, I don't know who you are. However, he's so audacious that he's only a hair's breadth away from becoming an emperor, yet he still dares to impersonate the chaotic sky emperor. It's simply laughable. Indeed, Ciel Wan's cultivation hadn't fully recovered to emperor realm yet. He was still a sliver away, so his aura didn't seem to be there yet. This was also the reason why he was so bold. You guys, go up and test out just what kind of ability he has that he dares to impersonate the chaotic heaven's divine warrior. Jianghu demonic emperor looked at the 10-odd supreme martial artists. The dozen supreme martial artists' expressions changed drastically. For a moment, no one dared to step forward and they were hesitant. They had all seen Ciel Luan's statues or portraits, all of which had been carved with inscriptions. Ciel Luan's divine presence and aura had been carved into them, making them almost identical to the person in front of them. How would they dare to make a move? What a bunch of trash. Jianghu demonic emperor shouted coldly when he saw that the supreme martial artists did not dare to come forward. Don't send them to their deaths. You're very ambitious but you don't know your combat strength. Let me test your combat strength. Ciel Wan strode forward, a terrifyingly powerful chi rising from his body. Endless demonic chi gathered above Ciel Wan's head, like a demonic cloud. You're not even an emperor yet and you want to fight me? You're looking for death. Devil domain. Jianghu demonic emperor shouted. A dark domain visible to the naked eye appeared around him. With him as the center, it spread out towards Ciel Luan. It was similar to Xian Yinqing's sky demon power field, but it was much more powerful. Buzz. A black domain also spread out from Ciel Luan's body. It was also a domain and it spread outward with him as the center. The two's domains were like two air bubbles. When they met in the air, a deafening boom was produced. This was a confrontation between two domains. If an ordinary spirit god expert were to get close, they would be crushed into powder. Kill. Demonic Sky 10 strikes. Jianghu demonic emperor shouted and strode forward, launching a powerful attack. He clenched his fist and changed his palm from time to time, attacking Ciel Wan with his demonic domain. Break. Ciel Wan's attack was extremely direct. All the muscles in his body bulged like a demonic weapon as he threw a punch. With one punch, his opponent's domain trembled violently and was almost penetrated. Then his fist collided with his opponent's palm. The sky exploded like thunder, and the two figures trembled and retreated. Undying Mo physique, it's the undying Mo physique. It's really the fiend ancestor. A few supreme martial artists cried out in shock. In the divine wilderness continent, there were many who cultivated the demonic path. There were also more than one or two who had become emperors as demons. However, in the past million years, there was only one person who had cultivated the immortal demonic body, and that person was Xiao Wan. The other demon sovereigns had broken through to the sovereign level and cultivated their spiritual bodies, but they were not as strong as the immortal demon body. There were also strong and weak spirit bodies. The immortal demon body was one of the stronger types of spirit bodies. Even if Xiao Wan was still a hair away from recovering to the emperor realm, he could still fight an ordinary emperor with his immortal demonic body and his battle experience. Some people had some doubts before, but after the immortal demon body was revealed, no one had any more doubts. Chaotic art of the heavenly devil, create chaos in the world. However, Jianghu demonic emperor's killing intent was even more intense. He performed an unparalleled demonic technique. Endless demonic chi gathered and a terrible aura filled the world, as if it was going to turn the world upside down. However, Xiao Wan's eyes were calm, and there was even a hint of a sneer in them. His body directly charged into the endless demonic chi. You're looking for death. Jianghu demonic emperor's face turned ferocious. He was about to attack Xiao Wan, but suddenly his face changed. Endless demonic chi started to shake violently. His body also trembled violently. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Buzz. Xiao Wan rushed out and struck Jianghu demonic emperor with his sky-covering palm. Bang. The armor of battle armor demonic emperor was pierced through, and the sound of bones breaking was heard. But Xiao Wan didn't stop. He threw another punch. This punch had broken half of his body. The chaotic heavenly devil technique was created by me. When I passed it on to the demon abyss, I left a flaw long ago. I was afraid that the demon abyss or its descendants would rebel one day. Xiao Wan's voice was extremely cold. When Jianghu demonic emperor had used the chaotic art of the heavenly demon, Xiao Wan had caught his weakness and severely injured him. Xiao Wan had already prepared a backup plan. Xiao Wan grabbed Jianghu demonic emperor's neck with his claws. He said with a cold killing intent, "Traitors should be killed. No, please spare me, ancestor devil. Please spare me. It's all a misunderstanding. I thought someone was impersonating you, so I wanted to test you." Jianghu demonic emperor struggled with all his might and begged for mercy. Half of his body had been destroyed, but as an emperor, he had cultivated a spirit body and had a terrifying life force. Even if half of his body had been destroyed, he could quickly recover. To an emperor, regrowing a broken limb was a simple task. Oh, is that so? Xiao Wan's eyes were still cold, and he had a faint smile on his face. Yes. If I had known that it was you, ancestor devil, who had descended, I wouldn't have dared to make a move even if you lent me 10,000 guts. Don't worry, ancestor devil. Since you have returned to this world, I will be loyal to you in the future. Jianghu demon emperor shouted. Oh really? Originally, I would have killed a traitor, but now I need people so I can spare your life. Make a blood oath and I'll give you a chance to atone for your crimes in the future. Xiao Wan said. Jianghu demonic emperor had no choice but to swear a blood oath to be loyal to Xiao Wan in order to save his life. Only then did Xiao Wan release Jianghu demon emperor. Jianghu demonic emperor gasped for breath and started to recover with demonic chi spreading all over his body. What's your name? Xiao Wan asked Jianghu devil emperor. Your subordinate Mo Yi pays his respects to the fiend ancestor. The battle-armored demon emperor said respectfully. Your subordinate welcomes the return of the fiend ancestor. The others also kowtowed. Yes, I've been trapped for 30,000 years and need the myriad devil pool to recover. Take me to the myriad devil pool. Xiao Wan ordered. Mo Yi, a dozen supreme martial artists and a few spiritual god experts hurriedly nodded. Lu Ming, little girl, come together. I have something to say. Xiao Wan looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The two of them nodded and followed Xiao Wan, Mo Yi and the others. They flew over the city and arrived at the top of a huge mountain. This mountain was surrounded by inscription arrays and had been sealed off. This was the Myriad Fiend Pool, one of the trump cards Xie Luan had left behind. Chapter 1168. 1168 Over a billion raw stones. Little girl, I've said that if you save me, I'll pass on my legacy to you. I won't go back on my word. With that, Xie Luan pointed his finger at Xian Yanqing's forehead. A black light flashed and he disappeared. I've already passed on my life's cultivation experience and the demonic arts I've cultivated to you. However, everyone's path is different. You can learn from it but you can't copy it. Also, there's a demonic palace here. You can enter it and cultivate. It'll be very beneficial to your cultivation. Xie Luan said. Xian Yanqing closed his eyes and sensed for a moment. Then he nodded and cupped his fists. Many thanks, senior. Although we've been separated for more than 30,000 years, our fates are similar. No need to be polite. Xie Luan laughed. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This Xie Luan was a man of his word. To be honest, although Lu Ming had the idea of borrowing Xie Luan's power along the way, he had always been wary of Xie Luan. At this time, his wariness had slightly diminished. At this moment, Xie Luan looked at Lu Ming. Demonic qi gathered in his palm and condensed into a black token. He handed it to Lu Ming, then turned to Mo Yi and the others. Brother Lu Ming is my benefactor. From now on, seeing him is the same as seeing me. He can go anywhere in the myriad demons abyss freely. Do you understand? Your subordinate understands. Mo Yi and the rest bowed and accepted the order. Also, now that the outside world is in chaos, send people to keep an eye on the outside world. When I come out of the myriad devil pool, I will bring you out of the myriad devil pool and dominate the divine wilderness mainland. Xie Luan loudly declared, brimming with confidence. The devil ancestor is invincible. We will obey the devil ancestor's orders. Mo Yi and the rest bowed once more. Xie Luan nodded, then turned to the center of the mountain and strode forward. The formation seemed to recognize him and they didn't react at all. Soon he was gone. Mo Yi and the others were secretly shocked. The formation of the myriad devil pool was extremely terrifying. Even an emperor like Mo Yi couldn't break through it. However, Xie Luan had entered it with ease. It was obvious that this was a backup plan left behind by Xie Luan. Young Master Lu, Lady Xie, the devil ancestor needs time to recover. You two can walk around freely. If you need anything, just look for me. Mo Yi looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and smiled. He could tell that Xie Luan regarded Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing very highly. He had even passed on his skills to Xian Yanqing in front of them. Naturally, he had to treat them with respect. The Demon Emperor is too polite. Please go ahead. If there's anything, I'll go and disturb you. Lu Ming smiled. All right then. You guys go ahead and walk around. We won't disturb you any further. Let's go, Mo Yi said. He then left the place with the others and arranged for people to go out and gather information. Little Qing, let's take a walk. Lu Ming held Xian Yanqing's hand and said. All right. Xian Yanqing nodded. The two of them held hands and walked in the air, casually strolling around. Now that Xie Luan had recovered more and more, the prison-suppressing steel's restraint on him was getting smaller and smaller. However, he was no longer affected by Lu Ming. The two of them walked around casually and chatted. During this period of time, they had been running around and did not get to know each other well. On a mountain peak, the two of them leaned against each other, ignoring the clear wind and Buddha's face. The two of them quietly enjoyed this peace and tranquility. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, the two of them did not cultivate and just spent time together quietly. 3 days later, Xian Yanqing went to the demonic palace to cultivate in seclusion. They knew very well that the divine wilderness continent was about to fall into chaos. In such an environment, the only way was to raise their own cultivation level. That was the foundation, the root of all. Otherwise, they would be drowned by the water sooner or later. Compared to those overlord forces, they were still too weak. As for Xie Luan, they knew very well that it was only an exchange of interests. They had saved Xie Luan, and Xie Luan might help them once or twice, but it wouldn't last long. In the end, they still had to rely on them Slaviers. However, before Xian Yanqing went into seclusion, Lu Ming had taught him the 9 seals of the Gate of God. After cultivating the 9 seals of the Gate of God, Xian Yinqing's combat power would be stronger. Xian Yinqing entered seclusion in the demonic hall. Lu Ming was on a mountain peak not far from the myriad demon pool, preparing to cultivate in seclusion. However, there was still one more thing to do before he went into seclusion. With a wave of his hand, a pile of storage rings appeared. These storage rings were left behind by the enemies he had killed during this period of time. Many of them were left behind by high-level spiritual god powerhouses. Lu Ming had not counted them all this time. Now that he had the time, he could take a look. With a thought, Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram and began to sort and count the items in the storage rings. After counting, even though Lu Ming was mentally prepared, he was still dumbfounded by the amount of wealth. There were more than 1 billion raw stones. 1 billion raw gemstones, what a terrifying amount of wealth was that. Haha, it's enough for me to use for a long time. Lu Ming was overjoyed. In addition, there were also many intent crystals of various grades, all of which were shockingly valuable. Lu Ming had no use for some low-grade, middle-grade and even high-grade profound meaning crystals, but he would leave them for the Lu clan, Huaqi and the others. They would be of great use to him. In addition, there were all kinds of spiritual pills, spiritual medicines, spiritual herbs, spiritual weapons and so on. After all, there were dozens of high-level spiritual god powerhouses among them. The wealth they left behind was too shocking. Lu Ming was grinning from ear to ear. He separated them into different categories and kept them. During this period, Dandan smelled the scent of spirit herbs and rushed over. Lu Ming gave him some spirit herbs to let him recover. After counting, Lu Ming began to comprehend the intent realm of heaven and earth under the path understanding ancient tree with the help of the profound meaning crystals. Now that Lu Ming had enough raw gemstones, he could use them to improve his cultivation as long as he had a breakthrough in the heaven and earth essence realm. Time quickly passed and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. One day Lu Ming sensed something. He came out of the mountain and river diagram and looked in the direction of the myriad demon pool. Demonic clouds gathered in the sky above the myriad devil pool, and demonic chi filled the sky. An unparalleled pressure spread out. Lu Ming knew that Xiao Wan had come out of seclusion. Wang. Lu Ming's eyes glowed. He could feel that the fragment of the prison-suppressing steel was shaking slightly. With a thought, Lu Ming rose into the air and flew towards the myriad demons pool. Hoo-hoo! The demonic chi surged and finally gathered together, and Xiao Wan's figure appeared. 3 months later, Xiao Wan's aura was extremely terrifying, vast and unfathomable. Each of his muscles seemed to possess a destructive power that could destroy everything. Lu Ming understood that Xiao Wan had completely recovered to the Emperor realm. Lu Ming had no idea to what extent he had reached. At this moment, Mo Yi and the others had also flown over. However, Xiao Wan waved his hand, and they all stopped in the distance, not approaching. Buzz. At this moment, the fragment of the prison-suppressing steel flew out of Lu Ming's body. It grew rapidly to the size of a mountain, flying toward Xiao Wan and floating above his head. Boom. Suddenly, Xiao Wan struck the fragment of the prison-guarding steel with his palm. The fragment began to shake violently. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.